Welcome everyone to my channel. I'm of course your host tonight, King Mike, legend of the movies. We have a super fun stream planned for you all today. We are celebrating the filmography of Guy Ritchie. Yes, Guy Ritchie has done 15 films so far, so there's a lot of movies to discuss here. We're going to go in detail on all of them, and then we're going to give our individual rankings and then a group ranking reveal at the end, so you find out what is the number one Guy Ritchie movie from at least our accumulated group scores here. So this is going to be super fun. I'm going to bring out the panel here in a few seconds. But just to remind you guys all, if you love Guy Ritchie films, just like us on this panel, be a gentleman and use a revolver on that like and subscribe. If you want to feel like a rock and roller, use super chats to have your comment read live. And then if you have ideas for streams, don't let those ideas get swept away. Create a covenant through those memberships to unlock those exclusive perks for the channel. So yeah, definitely thank you all for doing that. And we will get started here by bringing out this amazing panel. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Puns forever.
I know so many good movies here. How many puns can I fit into this right at the beginning? I think I did pretty good. I think I got, 4 or 5 in there?
Yeah, that was pretty solid. That was pretty solid.
Which took longer, coming up with that or watching all the movies?
Oh my gosh. Man, this was a task watching these movies though. It took me like a whole month to get through these. So let's just get it started right away, because if we don't, we'll be here for 2 days. So let's throw up the first one, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, 1998. All right, let's go with Ryan on this one, because I know this is one of your more enjoyable ones, right? So what do you think of this one?
This was not my introduction to him. His second movie actually was, and I went back and watched this one because I thought this was actually a sequel to another movie. But this was the year I graduated. I really had never liked British sense of humor or movies really. But Guy Ritchie really drew me into it. But Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, great cast in there. Is it Vinny? I forget what his name is now.
Jones.
Yeah, Vinny Jones is in it. First time I had ever seen him in a movie. The premise of it, of course, they go for pool money for a poker game. They lose all their money, and he's got to pay back 500,000 pounds. So these guns come into play where they got to try to hawk them, and they're trying to get all this money. Everybody's chasing everybody. Great movie, I think. And it's like a Statham. I think it's the first time I'd ever seen Statham in something as well, besides another movie we'll be talking about here shortly. So it really made me like Statham as well at the time.
Awesome. And then Nate, how'd you feel about this one?
Okay. So, I saw this when I was like a teenager. I wasn't a teenager when it came out, but I saw it when I was a teenager. And because I remember it was one of those late 90s. He was debuting. I remember it was big at the MTV Awards. He won like the new director guy or whatever. So I saw it when I was a teenager. I loved it. Now I have not seen this movie probably in like 20 years from when I did this rewatch. And I gotta say, I didn't like it as much when I watched it this time. First of all, this is like a personal nitpick, but I don't like the way it looks. I don't know if it's like all tan and brown. Like I hate the color grading on it. Like visually, it's not appealing to me. But second, it's really hard to follow. It is really difficult to follow along with what's going on. I think the humor works. I agree with Ryan's points as far as the cast. I think the cast is really good, like Jason Fleming, Jason Statham, Vinny Jones. Like I like all those guys. But I was confused through a majority of it, and then it ties up at the end, and you can like piece it all together. But I didn't hate it, but I wasn't as into it as I was when I was younger.
And James, how'd you feel about this one?
I think this is probably the first one I saw of Guy Ritchie. I mean, I'm old, so I was 21 when this came out. But I think the first time I heard of Guy Ritchie is because he was dating Madonna at the time. Otherwise, I don't think I'd ever even heard of him before. So that made me kind of want to check it out. I mean, not that I'm a huge Madonna fan or anything. That'll come into play a little bit later. But yeah, I thought this was really good. I can understand. A lot of movies sometimes when you're younger, you love them. and then you come back to it, and it's you're just kind of like, like maybe I don't know. And sometimes it's kind of the mood too. Like if you're in a specific mood, and I mean, this kind of just has like all the Guy Ritchie like. I mean, I know it was like at the beginning, but everything subsequent mostly kind of has all that, comedy, action, badass dudes. I mean, Vinny Jones, that dude could be sitting there reading the paper as long as he's talking. I'm interested in it because I think he's just, I mean, just amazing. I mean, I really liked it. I think it's, and yeah, I get it with the, with the look of it, but I think it's, especially when it's like his first thing, that's kind of what he was going for. He wasn't making, blockbusters like Sherlock Holmes or anything like that. So I think it just kind of was that kind of a little bit indie type stuff. But I mean, it's got all the cool Guy Ritchie, all the features in it.
Well, for me, for this being a first movie from any director, that's pretty amazing. He did a pretty solid job on this from a filmmaking standpoint, camera angles, all of that. That being said, not the movie for me. I saw this movie for the first time a few weeks ago. I don't get the British humor as much. I think I only chuckled a few times in this one. Yes, it's a great cast, but like you, Nate, the story is so hard to follow. Every like 15 minutes, I got confused again. I'm like, wait, where are we at? What characters are we following now? What's going on? And that's just me. Like movies that play around with time and jump around from character to characters, that constantly loses me. And I will agree with the way the film looked. Once again, not really my cup of tea with that either, but it's understandable. It's a first film, so I will forgive that a little bit. So yeah, just not the movie for me. So I don't need to say too much more on that one, but I'm glad you guys liked it more than me.
Yeah. I would like to agree. It is very disjointed, but I was just looking at other movies that came out in 1998 that was British, and even 1997, all love stories. Almost like 95% of them was love stories. So he came into, he wanted to do something different, and it's a very good, I think, entry for trying something new. I totally get where you say it's disjointed, and I never thought about the color palette. You're right; it is kind of bland. It's very muted
and brown for some reason. Everything's tan. I will say, and I think the funny thing, I love Guy Ritchie. When you had asked me, when Mike messaged me, I was like, I don't like Guy Ritchie. I love Guy Ritchie films. So like even this, that's not my favorite. I think I still gave it like a 7 out of 10. Like I don't think it's bad, but the thing I like about him, and I'm sure you guys might agree, like he has 3 very distinct kind of. He either is doing a British crime movie, pretty much, he's got 5 or 6 of those, or he's doing sort of a blockbuster movie, or he's doing. Then there's the other category where it's like this, like one-off, like for example, Aladdin. Well, that's a blockbuster. Swept Away. That's like doesn't really fit in anything else. And so he has these lanes, and I think he does good work in most of them.
Yeah,
we'll see. I just like being in the other lanes. Just me.
The British crime movie's not your lane.
That's not my lane right there.
Okay, fair enough.
Speaking of British crime movies, we get another one that's very similar to this one. Snatch, right there. And even Ryan has the poster next to him. So I know Ryan came prepared on this one.
I don't know about prepared, but
I know you like this one, Ryan. So I'll let you have this one again. Well, how do you feel about Snatch?
Absolutely 100% love Snatch. I also love the movie. Anyway, no. So Snatch was the first movie I ever seen of Guy Ritchie. And like it was just stated, Madonna kind of introduced me to Guy Ritchie. I was like, oh, who's this guy? The MTV thing happened. Snatch came out. I'm like, oh, I know who Brad Pitt is. I know who Benicio del Toro is. Who's these other guys? And you get introduced to just a plethora of great British actors. You got, again, Statham, Vinnie Jones. I think his name's Ed. I can't say ADE. He's the Tyrone in there. Ewan in this thing. There's just a whole bunch of good British actors. But after seeing Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels second, I could see how he kind of took that formula with the disjointed story and refined it and just made one heck of a movie. This is witty. It's funny. No, you can't understand everything that's said in this thing because of gypsy talk. A little periwinkle blue, caravan for me ma, whatever. Do you like dags? It's like, but the story is kind of great. It's a caper in a sense. Everybody's double crossing everybody. You don't know what's going to happen, and the double cross gets double crossed in a double cross, and it's just fantastic.
All right, Nate, how do you feel on this one? You a big Snatch fan yourself?
All right, I do enjoy this movie. I like this one better than Lock, Stock. I agree with a lot of what Ryan said. To be honest, the progression, especially if you watch the 5, I call them the 5, like the crime movies he did. Each one sort of, to me, is like, well, most is better than the one before in that he keeps refining. He had a great idea with Lock, Stock. He came out with he had a style. Now, a little more money, better cast. I mean, good cast in the first one, but you got like Brad Pitt in this, and Dennis Farina. You got all these Benicio del Toro, and refine, and it keeps going. I think this movie is a lot. This is the first Guy Ritchie movie I ever saw as well. So, yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. Rewatching it now, I think it's really solid. I still think it's really good. And I think there's a lot of, especially if you're a certain age, I feel like people in their early to mid 40s, like this hit at a time when they would have been like 18, 19, 20. And it's that movie that if you saw it then, you'd be like, I absolutely love this movie. Like a college person movie. It's one of those, it has a feeling of one of those, like, have you ever seen Snatch? You never seen Snatch? Like you're going to put people onto it. So I think it has that sort of feel to it. And yeah, I really enjoy this movie.
And then
even though I still didn't rank it like the highest, but I do like it.
James, how do you feel on this one?
Oh, I love this one. This is definitely up there with me, and yeah, it's that same kind of crime stuff. And, Dennis Farina in this one, and it's weird because I've seen him in all those remade Unsolved Mysteries. I just like a good Dennis Farina where he's just a bad guy, kind of a bad dude, smart ass kind of guy, not like the Law and Order Dennis Farina. And then, I mean, I could watch Brad Pitt talking in this movie and it's like funny every single time. I could see like 100 times in a row and then watch it 101 and it's still hilarious just listening to him talk. It's just it's just an amazing job in that. And yeah, it's kind of a step up from the Lock, Stock. And I mean, this is one of my favorites. I love that old, crime, all the double cross, all that good stuff like that. And, these are the kind of movies where he has it's just like a cast of just tons and tons of people. And every single one of them just seem to work perfectly for whatever role. And then, Vinnie Jones again. But everybody seems to be like in their specific role perfectly. I don't know if he casts a lot of these people or it's a casting director more, but he seems to pick just the perfect people for these roles. Because I mean, who would have thought Brad Pitt, as a dude talking like that? I wouldn't have, but it works.
Yeah,
a gypsy bare knuckle boxer.
Yeah,
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, and I forgot Stephen Graham, Tommy. Him and Jason Statham's play off each other through the whole thing. Tommy being the weaker guy and Statham being like the hard guy.
Yeah,
like their chemistry is great. And Vinnie Jones has some of the most like best lines in there. Like when the guys are trying to rob him, it's like your gun says replica, mine says Desert Eagle 5.0. It's like,
yes,
great.
Plus, you see Vinnie Jones's acting, but he just has that look of like if you saw him in real life, you'd be worried. Yes. Like you just don't know.
Can't wait to hear Mike say he doesn't like this movie.
He doesn't like this movie.
Okay, so I learned of Guy Ritchie's name through this movie. I had a buddy that loved this movie. He said, you got to see Snatch. You got to see Snatch. I'm like, okay, finally, I'll watch Snatch when I come across it. Saw it on TV. I'm like, okay, let me check this out. I'm like, I don't freaking understand this movie. Like, is there something wrong with my TV? Maybe I need to get a 4K disc of this one. Okay, so two years later, I revisit this one. I picked up the 4K for this stream. I'm like, it has to be better now. I'm more wiser. I've seen a lot more movies now. Like, I'm in the movie space now. I should love this movie. Everybody says it's Guy Ritchie's #1 movie. I watched it again, and I'm like, okay. It's a better Lock Stock. I will give it that. It looks better. I like the cast even more in this one. Yes, Brad Pitt is a treasure in this movie. He's fantastic. So whenever Brad Pitt's on screen, I like the movie because I like boxing and fighting, and then how the matches are set up. I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. I'm enjoying that part. But once again, it still feels disjointed to me. You're jumping around to different characters, different side stories, and then by the end, it does tie together nicely. But you got to really pay attention with a movie like this. Like, you got to sit there, like, really watch this movie. And I'm like, I don't like movies like that. So, not the movie in my lane. It's good for what it is. There are some highlights there. The dog in it, the dog's cool in there.
Yeah.
I like how that plays into the story. So, if I was into these kind of movies, I would be like, okay, this is one of the best ones out there. It's just not my lane of movie. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yep. That's
But,
why I'm like,
but
you
you learn two things in the movie. You don't mess with gypsies, and you don't mess with people with pig farms.
Oh, yeah. Don't do it.
All right. Next one, which is totally a U-turn here, going to something way different, Swept Away in 2002. And like I said, I'm going to be like complete opposite from Ryan on this one right here, because I'm like, oh, this is a movie I can get into. To me, this movie reminded me of Triangle of Sadness. I don't know if you guys seen that newer movie that came out, but it has that social commentary of, you got the rich social class and they're kind of bullying the workers. But then I love when they get to the island and that dynamic completely just gets turned on its head. And you see the worker has all the skills and they can survive on the island. And then Madonna doesn't know what she's doing. And I found some good dark comedy into that. So I laughed a couple times during this movie, but I love that social commentary aspect. And it's actually really funny. I've never seen Madonna before this movie. Like, I was young when Madonna was a thing, so I've always heard her name. Like, the adults would talk about Madonna, but I'd never seen Madonna till this movie. I'm like, where's Madonna in this movie? And I'm like, oh, the main person, that's Madonna. Okay, I didn't know. Well, there you go. Learned something new. But I think she's pretty good in the movie for the role she has. I mean, you totally just despise her throughout a lot of the movie. But I like romances. You get a nice little romance that forms, towards the middle to end of the movie. So I thought it was a delight. It was something different. And like I said, this is more my lane, going something a little bit different with social commentary. So that's why I appreciated this one. Nate, I feel like you got something to say. Jump on this one, Nate.
All right, this is okay. So like sometimes you hear about these movies, like you never seen it, right? You just hear this movie's terrible. Everyone tells you this is a horrible. You read Rotten Tomatoes, it's got like 2%, and then everyone's like just dumping on it, and you think to yourself like, it can't be that bad. There's no way it's that bad. This is the movie that proves it is that bad. Like, it is actually as bad as everyone says it is. This is a remake of a movie called Swept Away. To your point of the commentary, that movie had true social commentary in it. As one of them was like a communist and the other one wasn't, and there's like this whole thing. This movie treads lightly on it. It thinks about going there, and then it doesn't, with like the whole thing with like capitalism and all that stuff. Madonna's horrible in this. I that's where I'll really disagree with you. Her acting, I've seen her in other stuff. When I was a kid, I knew her from Dick Tracy. I mean, I knew her music, but as far as acting, Dick Tracy, she's great in that movie. Well, not great, but she's really good in that movie. Compared to this, she's incredible in that movie. She's horrible. She's insufferable. Bruce Greenwood is in this. He's fine. Everyone seems like they're not trying, except the guy, the main guy. But I like the romance aspect is weird. It's really weird. He forces himself on her, and then he's like, "No, I'm not gonna do that." It's like he's like, it's creepy. I could not get into this movie. I have seen it one other time before this, and I watched it on Tubi because that's all it was, and I didn't even mind. The commercial breaks were the best part for me. So yeah, I did. I didn't really
go out and get the DVD on this one, Nate. You didn't overpay for a DVD.
Absolutely not. The weird musical number where Guy Ritchie just wanted to shoot a Madonna video where she lip syncs to something. It's like, this is a vanity project through and through for her. He's like, you know what? You're my wife. I'm going to make a film around you. And it was a rightful bomb. I hate it. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. Tell us how you really feel now. All
crap.
right. Well, James, how'd you feel on this one?
Oh yeah, this was a turd. I didn't like this one at all. I mean, and I don't like Madonna anyway. Literally the only thing I think I've ever liked Madonna in. I mean, I like the music too. Is A League of Their Own. That was like the only thing. I never saw Evita. I guess some people say she's good in that. I don't know. I didn't see that. But A League of Their Own was it. This movie had all the. It just, to me, when I see it, it had all the makings of I've got a 3 picture deal and I don't want to do the last one. I'll just whatever, and then pay me money. Like, especially after seeing the other two, like the type of movie that Guy Ritchie was making, and then to watch this one, it was like completely different. But it just like it was one of those movies where you're watching it, and then you start to wonder, is this thing almost over? And you start looking at your phone, like you're just completely disinterested. And I just could not stand it. I don't know if I don't know when Madonna and him got divorced, but I feel like it was probably around this time or something. And it's just no good.
It wasn't long after. I want to say it was maybe a year or two after. And I agree with both what they say. Horrible. Madonna, not a bad actress, but not good. And like you said, Dick Tracy, she was not great in, but she was much better.
Yeah.
Evita, I've never seen. League of Her Own, obligatory. It was filmed in my hometown, so I have seen it. She's good in that.
Yeah.
But it was basically, like you said, I've got to fulfill my contract of movies. I just got married to this superstar. I think he also, didn't he direct 1 or 2 of her videos?
Probably, I think so. Yeah, because he still did some music videos around that time for some reason.
And he was like, "Hey, I'm married to this famous chick. Let's throw her in the movie and let's make her this huge movie star." And her opposite, I forget what his name's, like Gillespie or something like that. Just no chemistry, no acting talent whatsoever there. And I don't think he has a very long IMDb after that.
He's actually the son of the guy who played that role in the original movie.
Okay.
His dad, played that same role in the original film. It was almost like a stunt casting. Because I don't even know. I've never seen that guy in anything else. I don't even. And his dad is. You've seen him now, like as an older actor, but I don't know who that kid is.
Yeah, I don't. He's the J.
He's been in a bunch of French or Spanish or Italian, whatever he is, movies, and he was in Ocean's 12.
Oh, good for him. So this didn't ruin his career all the way. That's good.
No.
Man. Wow, the group ranking makes so much sense now. I'm like, where does Swept Away go wrong? I'm like, I wouldn't rewatch this one, you know?
It's got a 3.6 on IMDb, for Christ's sake.
Is that good? Is out of 5?
It's absolutely horrible.
No, out of 10. That's out of 10.
Oh.
Yeah. The title's appropriate. It should be swept away and forgotten all of
yes.
that.
But by the way, he directed Madonna's What It Feels Like for a Girl music video. So there you go.
All right.
Well, I feel like Madonna was just pressuring him to be in one of the movies. Like, come on, you got
probably
something. He's like, fine,
I think so too.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, on that note, sweeping that one away, we are moving on.
5% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way. 5%.
Hey,
I've seen worse on there. There's 0%.
They're as bad as this.
What 5% of the population thinking, though?
All right. We're on to Revolver. Okay, Nate, you got something positive about Revolver here?
I mean, positive in comparison to Swept Away, sure. It's better than that. I feel like so Guy Ritchie comes out the gate, hot, lock, stock, very popular. Video. That was a video store movie. It was similar to Snatch. Like everybody see it on VHS and gets a little cult following. Snatch gets a bigger budget. Good. He does this vanity project. Big mistake. And now the studio's like, well, you know what? Maybe this guy's not the next big thing. Give him a smaller budget. He does a little movie with Revolver. He goes back to his sort of roots with the kind of British crime movie. I think this one's a miss though within that section of his career. Jason Statham with hair is really weird to me. I don't like it. I don't like how he looks in this movie. Ray Liotta's in it. It has a decent cast. Andre
3000, Mark Strong.
Yeah, good. Yeah, Mark Strong. Anything he's in, he's always good. So like, it doesn't have bad. I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's a misfire though. Like I think the storyline is not. It's not as interesting. And I know he tried to put in all this like weird like Buddhist stuff and like if you like read about it, it's really bizarre. I think this one's kind of boring within that crime genre that he does well. This is my least favorite of those movies. So I'm not crazy with it, but it's better than Swept Away.
Man, I'm like opposite. I'm like, compared to Snatch and Lock, Stock, I will take Revolver all day. I love when it gets to those comic booky scenes. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is inventive. I don't think I've seen this a whole lot of movies. So that's awesome. That's really artistic. Ray Liotta, fantastic. Kind of reminds me of like a Goodfellas type of movie. I like the setting, like the casino stuff. So I like this one, and I could follow it a little bit more than the other two movies. So I'm like, okay, I'm kind of on board with this. And then I did like the ending where it gets all psychological, and you have the psychologist talking in the credits. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a head scratcher, kind of intriguing, thought-provoking movie. All right, I'm on board with this one. So I liked it a little bit more than Lock, Stock, and Snatch, but I know I'm like opposite.
This is probably going to be the only movie me and Mike agree on. I hated Revolver the first time I seen it, and then I've watched it several times since, and it's in. I mean, spoiler, it's in my top 5. Like, I really do enjoy it. Statham with hair is weird. I completely agree with that, but he does the time jump thing in it, the non-linear story and all that, and it kept me guessing until the end. And I really did like the end when it kind of twisted things up, and you're kind of left thinking like, okay, did he complete what he was supposed to do? Did he not? And I really do like it.
James, how are you feeling on this?
And this is not the best for me. It's weird as we're going through. You can tell kind of almost what type of Guy Ritchie movie people kind of are gravitating towards. This one, I mean, it does have Mark Strong in it, who I didn't really know too much about at first, but I just started to grow to love everything he does. Yeah, Jason Statham in that any hair period, it just looks like a bad like SNL skit wig that they just like threw on him. I don't know if that says anything natural going on. I don't know if that man's just bald, but just the look of him, I don't know. I just could not get past the hair and it's just weird. When you have somebody, it's like if you saw Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, I know he used to have hair, but like with his golden, mane or whatever, it just doesn't look right. And it's just like the entire time I'm watching it, I just can't. That's all I'm focusing on. Because I didn't see this. I just watched this recently. It's not one that I'd seen before. So the entire time, after seeing many Jason Stathams, I'm like, what? No, couldn't do it.
And that is his natural hair. He's got that high, the widow's peak. He's got the high cutback where he was balding, because he used to be I think a college free diver or something like that. Yeah, and there's a lot of videos with him, and he's got not a full head of hair, but I think once he started going bald, he just said, screw it. Because, I mean, he really, in Snatch, he had hair. It was just cut really short.
I'm okay with the short hair. I don't like the full head of hair. It looks weird. His head is too big at the top to have hair on it. It's better bald. Just drop the top.
You're just so used to the bald. That's just what it is. So when not only do you see hair, but you see a ton of hair, it's just kind of like you just got slapped in the face with his hair.
I bet to argue that maybe his only movie he actually had full head of hair in.
I don't remember it in any other movie like that, like full. Maybe he wore some wigs in some movies, but I can't remember one where he just had hair. But I distinctly remember not liking it in this. I was like, oh no, it looks weird.
It could be, somebody like told him to shave it for a role and he kept it. Kind of like if you ever watched the old Night Court from the 80s, Richard Mole had to shave his head for a role right before he got that show, and then just kind of stuck, and you just know him as a bald guy. I kind of feel like maybe Jason Statham was in that same, oh yeah, I got to shave your head for this one, or cut it real low, and then it just stuck.
Yeah.
He had hair for Ghost of Mars, but it wasn't long. It was medium length, but yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, now that you say that.
Yeah,
it was like a Caesar, like a Caesar. It wasn't like with like hair, like long hair.
Yeah, everything else after that he was cut short. So yeah, this is the only long-haired Statham we ever got.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I gotta rewatch this movie. I'm like, I didn't even notice the hair. You guys are really paying attention to the hair.
I love Jason Statham. I like anything I've seen, like his whole filmography. So it sticks out when it's like, what do you look like this for? Something's up. You got hair.
If you had Vinnie Jones came on a movie and he had long, luscious hair, you would just be like, what the hell is that? Like, that's kind of the impression I like.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe that's why you liked him, Mike. You didn't notice it, but maybe you were just like, I really connected to this character. He had like long
He didn't
hair.
even realize Statham was in it.
Yeah.
No, I knew he was in it. I didn't notice the hair. All right. Well, next one. Nate, did this one inspire you to become a rock and roller?
I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. All right. I'm going to be honest. From 2008 till all the way till the end, full disclosure, I really like to love all of the movies except the one. So to me, I just think he progressively got better at his craft. And so this movie is it's way better than Revolver. So I feel like this was a great step in the right direction. His movies have great casts, but this might be my favorite of his casts because you have Mark Strong again. Of course, you have Tom Wilkinson, who's one of the best. Gerard Butler, Idris Elba, Tom Hardy. It's like Tandy Newton. It's just a who's who of like British actors that I absolutely love. I love that Gerard Butler is not doing like action person. I mean, there's an action scene, but he's like playing in a regular movie, which is different to see at that time, at least. You know what I mean? He was coming off 300. So Idris Elba and Tom Hardy were not known names like they are now, but they're great. Funny. This one has the best comedy out of all these movies to me. I love the storyline, and it does the thing of like where it kind of, but to me, this one's very easy to follow. I don't have the same problems I have with like Lock, Stock, and Revolver a little bit. So yeah, I love this movie. I think it's great.
Yeah, this movie got a lot of hate by a lot of the Ritchie fans when it came out, and it's now become, I think, low key one of his best movies. I'm still waiting for Rock and Roller 2.
I wish, the little end credit part where it's like they're gonna return. And I looked it up, and he had a script ready and all this stuff, and then he just kept getting these big movie after big movie after big, and it's never gonna happen now.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the first of a trilogy, so
pissing me off.
I love
How
it.
do you
It's
feel about this
definitely
one,
good.
James?
I think isn't Sherlock Holmes the only thing he made a sequel of? I can't think of.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good movie. I like that kind of that, it's almost like The Departed a little bit, that like underworld, but then there's your comedy in it. That's just kind of like the perfect for me. I don't like it to be like, this is a very, very unpopular opinion, but like The Godfather, I enjoyed it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I for some reason, I don't know why, I'm weird, but I kind of like, the underworld type stuff, and then comedy just thrown in. It just works. It worked in this one. I guess we had Andre 3000 in the previous one, so Ludacris is in this one, so you got to keep up with, going with at least one rapper in each one. Yeah, I mean, it does have Jeremy Piven in it too, who I hate. For whatever reason, I'm saying Jeremy Piven, I don't know what it is, but
luckily he's not in it much, which is good.
Yeah, that's how I can overlook it a little bit. I don't know what it is, but
He's got a punchable face, punchable face.
Yeah. He just seems like he would just be just like a rat kind of guy. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good movie. Yeah, same thing. I like I said, I love that kind of the underbelly, kind of underworld type stuff, along with the comedy thrown in there. I think it's just a perfect combination for a movie. And this is another one that works. Like I said, it's obvious, like the type of Guy Ritchie movies I kind of enjoy are like that, and Snatch and all those, as opposed to the other, some of the other stuff.
Music. He stepped the music up in this one too. Like it's got a lot of good background music.
All right.
And Toby Kebbell, I forgot. Toby Kebbell, I love him in this movie. He does a lot of mocap for some reason. Like he was like Koba in the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And he was in Warcraft as like a orc guy. And he's really good in this. And the whole subplot, I'm sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to like jump back in, but whole subplot with Gerard Butler and Tom Hardy, where he's like going to go to prison. And so there's this whole thing of like, what happened? And, like everyone else thinks it's fine. And Gerard Butler's like really mad about it. And they just danced. But to him, it's like, I can't even believe I danced with you. Don't tell anyone. You take this to your grave. And like him and Idris Elba's interaction about it cracked me up. I've seen this movie a few times and I laugh every single time.
I like Tom Hardy's character's name's Handsome Bob, and Statham later plays Handsome Rob in Italian Job.
That's right.
I guess that's like a British thing.
Handsome Bob. Love it.
All right. I'm still trying to remember this movie. I think I'm piecing it together because, like I said, all his crime British movies all meld together for me. But this is the one where it's more modern Britain, right? And there's like a lot of
Yeah.
buildings taking over London and about the property and all that stuff. Okay. So I
Yeah.
like that concept. I thought that was a little bit different. So I felt like that was a little bit better. The music was great, like you guys said. The cast, fantastic. The idea of being a rock and roller. I don't know, that just makes me laugh in some way. So I enjoyed that part. Yeah, some good dark
And
comedy
he
in there.
also, not to jump in, he integrated because the main guy that wants to be a rock and roller is actually a Russian mob's son or something like that, and the Russian mob's trying to move in. So he even kind of spread out past America too, and was like bringing in other mobsters.
Mhm.
So that was kind of neat too to see like his world expand per se.
Yep. Yeah, so I thought all those pieces worked fine. So I probably like it a little bit more than Lock, Stock, and Snatch. So
I think this one's more accessible than those. I think
Yeah.
it's a little easier to follow. It's a little more like,
it's more
hey, if you
visually
didn't like those
appealing
two,
too. Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Mhm. All right, let's move along to Sherlock Holmes. I know, James, you're a big fan of this one, so you want to start off on it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it helps. I love Sherlock Holmes, even, I mean, well before this, just the actual novels, Sherlock Holmes. I just thought this was a great one. Obviously, it's totally different than, Snatch and all that. And I just thought, Jude Law and, oh God,
Robert
Robert
Downey
Robert
Jr.
Downey
Robert
Jr.
Downey Jr.
Yeah, I was about to say Iron Man. Just it's weird because I almost feel like they could have switched and it still would have been a really good movie. Like if he, Jude Law played Sherlock and Robert Downey Jr. played Watson, I think it still totally would have worked. But I just thought the look of this movie was great. The story was great. I love the fight scenes when Robert Downey Jr. is doing the fight scenes and it's kind of that slow motion and he's telegraphing everything and that he's doing. I just thought the story was amazing. The look was amazing. Just almost, I mean, this is easily one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's me too. Like Robert Downey Jr. in this role is like perfect for Sherlock Holmes. And I'm not a big Sherlock Holmes fan, like in general, like the classic Sherlock Holmes. I've never really gotten into it, but this makes me want to kind of explore more Sherlock Holmes because I'm like Robert Downey Jr. is just so. There's something about his charisma in this role, like hearing his thought process and how it narrates, and you're like, oh, okay, that's really cool how he's setting up the fight sequences and he's thinking about, wait, this is my move here, this is my move here, and how it telegraphs it. I'm like, this is really great visual storytelling. So it has that Guy Ritchie feel to it, but it just works for a blockbuster movie like this. So good action scenes in here. I love the mystery to it all. Cast is fantastic. So to me, this is a really accessible Guy Ritchie film. Like most people could probably see Sherlock Holmes and really like this one. Nate, you like this one too?
I do. I like it. I think I probably have it ranked lower than everybody else if I'm gonna just take a stab in the dark here. But I like it. This was the first foray, to your point, into like blockbuster filmmaking for Guy Ritchie. Like big budget, big stars, Rachel McAdams and Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, great cast. Mark Strong again, like one of his go-to guys. I think he's done like 4 or 5 movies with him and 5 with Statham. So like those are like his go-to guys. I love that. He always works with like the same actors. And I think this movie's really good. I will say I loved it in 2009 when I saw it at the theater. I loved it. And now I can't say that I love it. I do think it's good. But I don't like to rewatch it too much because every time I do, I think I like it slightly less. And I don't know why. And I don't think it's bad. And I still give it a good score. But it's something about it works for me less every time I watch it. I think it's a little long. I don't know. It's something about it that just I like but don't love.
I'm in the same boat. I liked it when it first came out. Robert Downey was getting his big resurgence after everything he'd gone through. He'd just done Iron Man and all that. I think what drags it down for me on rewatch is the over explanation of everything. And I think that's why I never liked Sherlock Holmes as a kid either. Like it's a British thing, really. That's about it. The British aren't really like, I prefer other regions of movies before I really do British stuff. But Sherlock Holmes, just to me, I don't know. He's like the smartest guy in the world, and it just gets overplayed, I think. And on rewatch, you see that and like, yeah, okay, this is kind of, not really can you really do that? No, that's not possible. It just, to me, it drags on.
And then this one made him Batman. Like, not only is he the smartest man in the world, he now is like a master fighter too. Like, he can predict the movements of all the guys that he's fighting. So it's like,
I'm like, that's so awesome. I'm like, this is, it feels like
cool
a superhero movie at that point. And I'm like, I love that. That's my genre. Let's go.
Visually, it's a cool thing, and I love the way he executed it, but it doesn't feel in line with a Sherlock Holmes character. I feel like Watson should have had that ability, especially this version of him. I thought that would have been cooler, but
yeah, I don't think like the Benedict Cumberbatch version. He is just a book smart, like inspector guy, and Watson is the dirty man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it kind of threw me off too.
Yeah, not too much fighting in the Sherlock Holmes novel book. He's not like some badass beating people up and everything like that. But I can see, I mean, if you're not, I think it's you either like it or you don't. I mean, obviously some of it's extremely implausible. Just I went into a room and I deduced 18 different things, all in like a split second, like you're watching Psych or something like that. But it's just,
like when he describes the wife, like that he like knows her whole life story except that the husband died, but everything else is correct. Like, how did you?
Yeah.
How?
Hey, some people have that ability.
He's a psychic in this movie.
It's like
he's a psychic.
It's they have those out there. I saw it on America's Got Talent. They exist. Okay.
Psychic Holmes is what it should have been called.
All right. Well, speaking of this, we got that sequel now, A Game of Shadows. James, did this sequel live up to that first one?
It didn't. I enjoy it, but it definitely I felt like it could have been a lot more, especially because now you're introducing Moriarty into the story, who's just supposed to be super criminal mastermind, the rival of Sherlock Holmes. For whatever reason, it just didn't hit with me. I thought the story could have been better. I didn't like the way they used Rachel McAdams in this one. It was almost kind of like a throwaway, like, we don't really need you anymore, but we got to come up with something kind of thing. I thought they could have used her better, and it just, for whatever reason, I don't know. I didn't like. I can't remember the actor's name who plays Moriarty, but for whatever reason, I just didn't like him in that role.
Richard or something Harris, isn't it?
Jared Harris.
Yes.
For whatever reason, I didn't really. I mean, it's not that he was bad or anything. I just, for whatever reason, I just pictured somebody else that could have been better, and just the story in general. Like I said, it was a good movie, but I felt like it could have been like way, way more than it was.
Nate, how do you feel on it?
I feel almost the exact same way. I like the first one better. I think this one is like, as far as sequels go, it doesn't fall off the cliff. It's not that sequel that goes from like 1 is a 10 out of 10 and 2 is a 5. It's not like that. But I really agree with everything he said. Rachel, I hate what they did with Rachel McAdams' character in this movie. I absolutely hate it. Felt like a cameo because she was in the first one, and now she's gone. And they wanted to use Noomi Rapace, who I love. I love Noomi Rapace as well, but I would rather have had Irene come back and do more stuff. And then this one seems like it really leaned into the action more than the story. Like, there's way more action in this movie. I do love the scene where they're running through the forest. Just from the filmmaking, like, I love the way that camera is moving in that scene every time. But other than that, it's just like kind of fine action, kind of fine story, fine joke. Everything's fine. Like, it's just fine.
How about you, Ryan?
I remember I've only watched it once, and that's probably all I'm ever going to watch it, even though I do own it. For me, it just fell completely flat. I think it was even more over stylized than the first one. It ran the same amount of time as the other one, I think shy of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it could have been cut down easily, like 20 minutes. Rachel McAdams, like you all said, she was a throwaway. And it really just, I don't know much about Sherlock Holmes, but it just did not feel like a Sherlock Holmes movie at all to me. And I think you're right. With the more action and all that, you really take away with what he actually does.
Yeah, for me, this one actually is on pretty much the same level of the first one. I like this one as well. I love the action part. That's why I watch these movies. I like the action, the fighting, the slowdown. Like, that's so cool to me. So, yep, it was awesome in this movie. The story itself, I don't know. I kind of already forgot the story. The pacing is terrible. Once again, you guys already said it. Cut this movie down. You could probably cut a half an hour out of this sucker. Like, how long was this movie? This movie felt
2
like
hours.
2 hours and 6 minutes. The first one
Oh
was
my
2
gosh,
hours,
it
8
feels like
minutes.
2.5 hours. This is a movie that needs to be like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
That's what they need to do.
129 minutes. It says on. Like,
Wow.
why is this?
And it
That's
feels
with credits.
longer than that too. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Pacing is not as good.
Yeah.
Too much stuff with the brother and stuff. Like, I don't care about Mycroft or whatever his name is. Get this guy out of here.
Like it would make sense if they knew that there was going to be more beyond that, and they were going to make it like a Sherlock Holmes universe. But they just kind of started throwing everything at the wall, trying to get it to stick, and hoped that they could get another deal, and it all fell apart, I think.
Yeah, I think they tried to go with the action more just to get a bigger audience in, but that's not really what Sherlock Holmes is. And I know somebody in the chat asked if we need a third one. I thought they had mentioned there was going to be a third, but I think it's just been too long.
I agree.
The second one wasn't the best. I mean, what is this, 13 years ago? So if they started making one, we're talking 14, 15 years. I just think
unless they're going to go pure Sherlock and no action and like make him older and he's just the brain, it could work. But if you're going to go this style with the speed, with the then no, I don't.
It would be way too expensive though. With Robert Downey Jr. now, like, okay, I'll take 40 million for a third Sherlock Holmes movie.
Yeah, I bet he would probably.
Deal.
I bet him and Ritchie are probably good friends. He'd probably do it for a discount, 30 mil, something like that.
He seems like the type. Isn't he like an HBO show now? If he's on an HBO show, he'll definitely do a third Sherlock Holmes. He'll get paid. It's Warner Brothers. They'll pay him.
I just don't think it would do good, though. I don't think it would do good at the box office, though. Just how movies are doing these days, I don't think a third Sherlock Holmes would sell.
Yeah, and I don't want to watch it to answer the question as far as if we need it. No, I don't think so.
Well, I pretty much everybody's said that like Benedict is the definitive Sherlock anyway. Like he's better, so bringing back the other Sherlock would just kind of. I don't know how their universes, contractually work nowadays. If, there's something like the studios are like, oh, we can't actually use it anymore or something like that because of Benedict's, Sherlock or whatever.
Well, now we get a multiverse one, right? Both Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes in the multiverse of madness.
Yeah. We're taking what Sherlock Holmes was in the books and already gone this way, and now we're just completely just going.
Well, and he's been called the Bleecker Streak Wizard. Tony Stark called him that in the one movie. So
that's right.
We'll have a Sherlock Marvel crossover.
Well, they were both in Marvel, so hey.
All right, next up. We got The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and that was a little bit of a break, right? 4 years later, so he took his time on that one. Yeah. Ryan, you said this was a first-time watch for you. How'd you like your first-time watch?
So I'm not a big Armie Hammer or Henry Cavill fan. It is Henry Cavill, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed this. I remember watching the TV show when I was younger, like being over my grandparents' house. My grandfather would watch this, and like I enjoyed the TV show. It was pretty neat for the time period. I think it was in the 60s or the 70s when it was filmed. So I felt like it stayed true to the premise of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. The action that was in it was cool. The little gadgets and everything was cool. Just overall, the movie was pretty darn good. And I think I may have ranked it a little higher on my. No, I think it's where it should be. And I really enjoyed Henry Cavill in this. I know he's like a super nerd and like he does nerdy stuff and all that. And I just don't like Superman because it's like my least favorite comic book character. But he was really good in this. And Armie Hammer, take it as it is.
Yeah, I really like this movie. It's a fun time. The cast is great here. I think they have a good dynamic back and forth. It's cool to see, like, okay, America and Russia, they're working together, but they're kind of against each other at the same time. You don't know if they're going to double cross each other at a certain point. And then I love the scene where freaking Henry Cavill's eating a sandwich, and you got that boat action scene behind him and explosions and all that. He's just listening to music, just munching on a sandwich. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious comedic gold in that movie right there. So I love that. The actress, I forgot her name, but she's a delight in the movie. So she's
Alicia Vikander.
Oh yeah, she was great. So I thought that was a good little, like, I don't know, love triangle or whatever you want to call it. But I enjoyed the story overall. I like spy thrillers, kind of felt like a James Bond movie in that way. So I prefer this style of movie to his British crime drama type of stuff. This was more easy to follow for me. And I like the way the movie looked. I like where they traveled, all the locales. I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think on this one, James?
I thought this was pretty good. I mean, I love a good, spy movie, a James Bond type, any kind of, spy. Now, I never saw the show or anything like that, so I just strictly had seen the movie. I'm just indifferent to Henry Cavill. I mean, when we talk about Superman, Christopher Reeve is always going to be Superman to me, regardless of who they put in there. I thought he did okay in this one. I think the first thing I ever saw him in was The Tudors.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Army Hammer, I guess this was when he was still allowed to make movies. I was never a fan of his. He always just had this weird look to him, and apparently it just was true in real life. So I don't know. I mean, he had a cool name that, I don't know, it sounded like he should be in adult movies, but other than that, I wasn't, he did okay in this one. I just, for a spy, action movie, I thought it was okay. It's nothing I'm going to go back and rewatch a bunch of times. It just didn't have that, like, between the two of them, for some reason, just didn't have a chemistry for me. And those ones, like I said, I don't know if it's even remotely the same as the television show, because I never watched it, but I just kind of thought it was all right.
It's similar to the TV show, but the TV show, I think, was actually the 50s, so it was very limited to its time period. Whereas this, a modern movie, they could do a lot more. But very, very true to what the Man from U.N.C.L.E. was back then, because I think it all had to do like not Cold War, but Russia, American War, and spies and all that. So
just odd that they remake this into a movie. Like, hey, that great 50s show that, like, most people didn't watch because they're probably dead now? Like, let's make a movie of that. Like, I don't know what the thinking was, but yeah.
Yeah, well, first of all, at least as far as Alicia Vikander, I love her. This was like right in her prime time, because she had the Ex Machina, Danish Girl, which she won the Oscar for this same year. This, Born the next year, Jason Bourne. Like, she was like, she was the it girl, and I liked her. Henry Cavill, I am a fan. The first thing I remember him from was the Count of Monte Cristo. He was in. He was in that movie, and I remember him from that. But I like him. I agree with these guys on Army Hammer. I just think he has no charisma. That's the problem. He's like a robot. He has no personality in every movie. Like, every movie he's in, he plays that same dead behind the eyes sort of guy. Like, he's handsome and is like, was a rich family or whatever, so he got roles. I don't think he's a good actor. However, I like this movie. I do like this movie. I think it's fun. I love spy movies. So this one, I love the music in this. I love the set where they're traveling all around, especially like very beautiful when they're out in all the daylight scenes in it. Like, this is getting a 4K coming up. It's going to look great, I think. And then what's this lady's name? Debicki, Elizabeth Debicki, the tall blonde. I like her too. So yeah, I enjoy this movie. It's funny, but not hilarious. And it has good action, but not incredible. It's a sturdy, well-made spy action movie. I like it.
Yeah. And Man from U.N.C.L.E. was 64, so it's in that time period. So
this is set in the 60s, so it matches up. Yeah. I'm glad they didn't modernize it, like try to make it new. Like, leave it where it was. It fits.
All right, next up, King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. I absolutely love this movie. It's a masterpiece, audience. If you have not seen this movie, go watch this one after the stream. Of fantasy adventure movies. You got Charlie Hunnam in here, the bad boy from Sons of Anarchy. I love the way this movie is set up, where he's like training and he has all those montages. It feels like a music video. He's like collecting the money, and you see like he's strategic as well, and he's like has this plan. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. But yeah, the whole cast is great. I love the visual effects in this movie. I still think they keep up to today pretty well. All the creature designs work. I like the story of King Arthur just in general. I mean, it's a classic story, but I like how Guy Ritchie told this in a very cool visual way. Like, at the end, it goes into almost like a video game feel to it. And I love that, where he's having that like showdown fight at the end. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. I love this movie. I saw it for the first time preparing for this stream, and I'm like, this is why I do filmography streams. how could I not have this movie in my life? Like, I'm telling you, for fantasy adventure, this is on like my top 10 fantasy adventure now. I love this movie. I'd rewatch this one all the time. It just gets you pumped up. Like, how can you watch the montage and not get pumped up? I know I'm the only way that feels about this one after seeing the individual rankings here. So if anybody wants to tear it apart,
I'll do it. When you told us in the group chat, like, these rankings are all over the place, I now see why. See why. Because you literally put everyone that's on my bottom at your top, and I don't know what everyone else is doing. I hate this movie. This is the movie. I saw this at the theater, and this was the one where I was like, I love Guy Ritchie, rock and roll, Sherlock, man, he was on a roll. And then this movie came out, and first of all, right at the beginning, I'm like, what? Wait a second. They're like giant elephants. And I'm like,
I'm like, that is so freaking cool. It's like so Lord of the Rings.
But bad. And your video game comparison is super appropriate. I felt like I was watching a video game, not a movie. Yes. I feel like he was trying to shoehorn in a lot of his British crime stuff into this setting, especially with Charlie Hunnam when he's with his boys and they're, doing I'm like, this doesn't work. I hate Jude Law in this. I don't like the wizard mage girl. I think her acting is terrible. I hate the octopus woman thing. Everything about this movie, it's ugly. I like everything you said. I feel the exact opposite.
I'm like, I love all this as you speak. I'm like, man, I want to watch this.
There's a scene in this. I kid you not. If you guys are, whoever's watching this stream, there's a scene in this movie that is towards the end of the movie. The part that Mike described, it's like he gets a sword, and they finally show what happens when he fights, and it looks like a PS3 video game, like PS3 CGI. It's bad. It's ugly. Magic. He looks fake. He's doing all this stupid, and I'm like, nope. I almost turned it off, and I had already seen this movie.
Hey,
I was like, let me just finish it.
For that, he worked on that choreography.
He didn't, because he was CGI. He wasn't real. It was not him. It was a computer, and I hated it. Still not the worst Guy Ritchie movie, but bad, very bad.
I agree. I don't like Charlie Hunnam. I like him in 2 movies. I like him in one of his first movies, and I like him in a movie we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, and that is it. This is only like the 40th movie about King Arthur. What are you going to tell us? Like, nothing. And it was over Guy Ritchie. It was just hyper stylized, and it was just like a sloppy bowl of oatmeal. Like, I could not. Like, it was bad.
Oatmeal's good for you, though.
Yeah. So, yeah. Other than one that we've already talked about, it would be my last one if we hadn't already talked about the one that is my last one on my list.
And I'm like, man, I would do a double feature of this and Swept Away. Like, I would.
My gosh, that's like just the most miserable sounding night.
Man, no, they need to re-release this one in IMAX. Like, let's go.
It was a bomb. Nobody will watch it again.
I will.
Yeah.
All right, Jay.
Be there. You'll buy the popcorn bucket.
I will say at least Madonna wasn't in it, so I mean, there's a plus there. But yeah, I don't know why it wasn't called Excalibur: Legend of the Sword, but whatever. I don't. Yeah, I mean, he's right. There's like a million King Arthur movies, and I'm one with stuff like that. I hate when it deviates too much and they try to throw too much in here. I almost feel like this is the last picture of my deal, like the mega blockbuster stuff, and I got to do something, and this is what came out. It's just, I just couldn't get into it. I'm the same. I'm not a huge Charlie Hunnam fan, except in Sons of Anarchy and in another movie in a little bit. And it was too much of that into this. Like, I just don't see Charlie Hunnam as King Arthur. I don't know why. I just can't. I don't know. I just didn't like it.
I would love to hear an interview one day of like Clive Owen being like, yeah, so Guy Ritchie came to me. He was like, hey, I'm going to do a King Arthur movie. You want to be the lead in it? And he'd be like, no, mate, I've already been in a King Arthur movie. Since he uses him a lot.
You know what's funny? You know what? You might have hit it on the head, because I'm looking at the filmography. This is the last movie he did with Warner Brothers. So it was, he did Rock and Rolla, Sherlock, Man from U.N.C.L.E., and then this. And then he didn't work with them anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, hey, I got one. I keep making them money. They got me doing one more movie and put out this turd. And then he was like, bye-bye. And that was it.
Yep. That makes perfect sense.
I don't know if it's one of those where they go to him like, hey, we want you to do this King Arthur movie, or it's just to come up with a movie. But I kind of feel like it was hey, you should make something. We want to do a King Arthur, and this, that, and the other. You should do that. And he's like, oh, all right.
Mike, did you buy this movie?
Oh yeah. Wait, yeah, I did. I got the Blu. Of course,
I have the Blu-ray here. I'm gonna trade it. It's in my trade pile after watching it for this.
Oh
for
man,
this
I got the Blu-ray, and I'm so glad I did. I went through all the special features, and I didn't do that for the other movies. I'm like, I'm loving this. I want a 4K. Give me a steelbook, a boutique release.
It has a 4K. It has 4K.
It does. Then maybe.
Yeah.
Did it really?
It's out of print, but yeah. It's,
because I was
it's
looking
where
for
it belongs.
Yeah.
Man,
I'm almost certain that we've had
so good on 4K. Oh man, I wish I had.
I'm almost certain we've had a King Arthur or an Excalibur movie every single 10 years. Like,
yeah, because before this was the Fuqua one with Clive Owen and Keira Knightley. There was
which I actually enjoy that.
Yeah, that one's better than this. There's the First Night one with Richard Gere, which was 90s. Excalibur.
There's the Disney one, A Kid in King Arthur's Court. I like that one.
Yeah, Sword in the Stone. There's a bunch. There's a bunch.
Yeah.
I feel like
the worst.
It's this.
This is number one, audience. Don't listen out there. This is number one perfection, masterpiece level. If you haven't seen it, give it a try. It's so
I
good.
love that the thing I love about movies. This stream is making me remember why I love. Like everyone loves something, Yeah. And even though I hated it, I love that you loved it.
Man, I'm like, I don't get it. People want to watch Snatch over this. What's going on with this? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I mean, it's in line with Mike, though. I mean, Shazam 2 was like his favorite movie of last year. So
that's true. I forgot.
It wasn't number one.
But it was up there.
It might have been number two. Number two or number three. Guardians 3 was number one. But Shazam 2 is a masterpiece. Oh my God.
Number 2.
I love Shazam 2. Okay. Well, anyway. We'll move on to another one I'm going to have to defend, I think. All right. Aladdin 2019. I actually quite like this one. I think it's probably the best Disney live action remake. So got to be fair here. Oh, actually, I haven't seen that one yet. So
that one's great.
You'll need to see that one. But I like the cast in here. What's the actress that plays Jasmine again?
Naomi Scott.
Oh, yeah. She was good. They were great. Good singing in here. Good music. I like the setting. I mean, you can't really mess up Aladdin too bad. It's pretty much the same Aladdin story. They don't really change much here. So I was fine with it. I actually like Will Smith as the genie. Like, I thought he did a pretty good job with what he was given. I like the dance sequence and how he's introduced and all that stuff. So, yeah, production design was great. The costumes were fantastic. I don't know the issue people have with this one, besides saying, oh, it's not like it's not the original. I just love the original. I mean, take the original away. If you just watch this on its own, it's a fine movie. No issue with this one. So I can rewatch this one.
Was this the first live action Disney did?
No.
No, it's Jungle Book, right? Jungle Book was before.
Well, technically would have been Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton, Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This was after Jungle Book, and this was also after Cinderella, because Cinderella was 2015 or 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that wasn't the issue. I just, because it wasn't Robin Williams as the genie, I think is what a lot of purists had an issue with.
Yeah. You know what, Mike? I won't leave you on an island all by yourself. I don't think this is a bad movie as far as these go.
It's not.
No,
it's
I
watchable.
don't think. Yeah, absolutely. I think it looks good. I think his visual flair works for the most part in this movie, especially the production. These big musical productions. You could have picked a worse director. I think he did a good job. I like Naomi Scott as well. I don't like the kid who plays Aladdin that much, but it's whatever. I love Robin Williams. I grew up. Aladdin's like, I think the first Disney movie I saw in the theater. I was 5 when it came out. So like, that is like a childhood nostalgia. You do have to separate. You cannot like. It's the same story, yet it's like 40 minutes longer than the cartoon. So it is different. They added some stuff. Do I love everything they added? No. I think Jafar is much worse than he is in the cartoon. But overall, like, I don't hate this movie. I think it's entertaining. The songs are still great because they didn't change them too much, and they added one that's okay. And I think it's fine. I don't think it's like the best Disney live action, but I'd say it's top 3 or 4, honestly.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I had no idea Guy Ritchie did this. I don't know who if Disney was like, we're gonna make a live action Aladdin. Let's get Guy Ritchie to direct. Like, I mean, as if Stephen King wasn't available or something. Like, I don't know who the thought process behind picking Guy Ritchie for this. And much like Army Hammer, I guess this is when Will Smith was still allowed to make movies. I mean, I always like Will Smith. Pre-slap. I always find most of the stuff he does pretty entertaining. Um, I thought it was okay. I'm not the biggest fan of the live action Disney movies. It just always strikes me as just laziness. Like, let's just go through our entire animated catalog and we can just make live action stuff out of this. Like, they can't think of anything else. I just thought it was okay. I'm just kind of indifferent with it. I love the cartoon too. I've seen that a bunch of times. And I think it's like with anything Disney, most of their animated stuff's like an hour and a half. Like, you're not going to get something long. But yeah, you kind of fall into the trap with Robin Williams. The same thing with Toy Story when they made Lightyear and they didn't have Tim Allen do the voice. It's kind of, people just, they associate somebody with that role, especially if it's just a voiceover. They just associate somebody with that. So when you have somebody that's completely different, it kind of, you're going to get a little bit of hate on that one. Not that, Will Smith's bad, but it was just okay.
I enjoyed seeing Guy Ritchie do a movie like this because you're right, it's way out of his wheelhouse, but it shows he has range as a director. I like when directors will try out different projects. Like, if he just did British crime drama movies, I'm like, that would get so old so fast. So I like when he kind of goes on these little tangents. Not as good as King Arthur, but it's still pretty good.
I don't know about that, but this was a big bounce back for him because that movie flopped so hard. And I think Man from Uncle underperformed. I don't think it was like a disaster, but it underperformed. He was like coming off, and then this made $1 billion, and then and then after this, he made like freaking 5 movies, like crazy. To diminishing returns, unfortunately, but still, it was a big. He has these like waves, like he comes out hot, and then he goes down, and then he comes up, and then he goes down, and financially, at least.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the other Disney live actions. Like, they have a different director. Like Kenneth Branagh did one, Jon Favreau did one. So I think they just went and picked directors at Disney, except for Jon Favreau, because I mean he
done Iron Man and Iron Man 2,
and that was Disney at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they weren't yet. Paramount.
Oh yeah, so they were picking directors that they hadn't worked with yet, I guess. Mm-hmm.
And Disney will do that. They'll just pick out directors they think are just good directors, even if it doesn't fit their stuff. Like with James Gunn, right, doing all the trauma stuff. They're like, hey, let's have this guy do Guardians of the Galaxy. You think, hey, that's
Beauty and the Beast was Bill Condon, who's like kind of person, but never did a Disney movie before. So that's true. Good point.
All right, next up. We got The Gentleman, and I know Nate likes this one.
Now we're cooking with grease. This spoiler alert, this is my favorite. This was my favorite Guy Ritchie movie. No, we're not giving our full rankings yet, but this one's my number one. To me, this is the quintessential movie of what he does well and what he likes to do in one movie. This is of the British crime movies. It is the perfect one, in my opinion. Charlie Hunnam, you're right. I agree with Ryan. I'm not a fan. I never watched Sons of Anarchy. I don't. I think he's similar to Armie Hammer. Like, I don't think he has a ton of charisma, but it works in this movie. It really works. Matthew McConaughey, great, love him. Henry Golding, hilarious in this. Another one with a great cast. Absolutely every role. I love the toddlers. Colin Farrell nearly just walks off with the whole movie, to be honest with you. Hugh Grant competes with him to walk off with the whole movie. I mean, everything about it is funny. It has a little bit of action. It has the story. Mike, this one was probably the easiest one to follow. This one is.
I concur.
Yes, this is the most accessible after rock and roll. Like, it's easy to follow. Great casting, and there's a reason they turned into a show, which I heard is pretty good. The Netflix show. I love this film. I think it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. He got back into form. When I heard this was coming out, I'm like, okay, is he gonna? He's doing another British gangster thing. And when I seen the cast, I was like, oh wait, he's not using his normal people. There are some of his normal people in here, but it's like completely changed the game. And then when I watched it, I was like, invested 100%. every minute of the movie. I was like, this is the best Guy Ritchie. It's not my number one, but to me, it's probably his, like you said, quintessential British gangster movie, period. And it's done so well. And Colin Farrell, you're right. Him and Hugh Grant just absolutely destroy everybody else in this movie.
It's one of those things of like, okay, like Steven Spielberg's my favorite director. Gun to my head, favorite director, love his movies. Love Jurassic Park is my favorite film of all time. But if you ask me what's his best movie, I'm probably saying like Schindler's List or Saving Private Ryan. And I don't like those movies better than Jurassic Park. And I feel like it might be the same way here where, you know, even though I did rank it one, it could be like, I think it's his best, but I have one that I prefer more or something like that. But I think everything he does well, this movie has it in spades.
Yeah. And he does it. He's almost like a Quentin Tarantino where he's got these large ensemble groups of people that would, you know, and a lot of them, you know, haven't been in anything major in a while. And he puts them in these roles. And it's kind of similar to this, you know, and they just, I mean, like I said, like from a previous one, it just works with every single person. It's weird because Colin Farrell was really good in this one. And I almost feel like Hollywood tried to push Colin Farrell as like a leading man, like he's the star of the movie. And then people were kind of like, nah, not really. It kind of faded off. But then as he's been in these other just supporting roles, he does so much better in these supporting roles. And this is another one where it's just not the, you know, top, you know, I'm not the guy, I'm the, you know, the face on the poster, but I'm that background guy that just kind of makes the entire movie, you know, and you know, Matthew McConaughey and you know, Hugh Grant, this one, like I said, just did an amazing job. It's just like, you know, it's like you said, it's back to that Guy Ritchie model of gangster type stuff with these ensemble casts, and everybody works perfectly in each of their roles that they were cast in.
Yes.
Yeah. And great music too. This one got good music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Colin Farrell too. Like,
don't disagree,
said,
Mike. Don't you dare.
No, I'm with you on this.
Oh, okay.
But like Colin Farrell, like you said, you know, he had SWAT, he had Phone Booth. There was another movie. He was trying to get pushed as leading man in America. He just doesn't do good in American movies, even though Phone Booth is fantastic.
Daredevil.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah.
I do like his Bullseye.
Penguin. He was great.
He's amazing as Penguin. He's amazing in this.
Right.
He's a way better supporting actor.
Yeah, and if you stick him in Irish movies and that as a leading actor, like In Bruges is fantastic.
Seven Psychopaths.
Banshees of Inisherin, Seven Psychopaths. Yeah. He's great in those like semi-leading, but he's just blowed me away in this movie. He's got some of the best lines, and he's like the most adult in any Guy Ritchie movie too.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, he just doesn't do well in those cookie cutter leading man. You're just the leading man. He needs to have like just a you know, off the wall kind of weird type of character, and then he just totally like runs, you know, with it and does amazing.
Sorry, Mike, I cut you off.
Oh no,
Mike, agree with us, please.
No, I agree. Finally, I can get on board with a crime drama movie here. This is where Guy Ritchie succeeds at being Guy Ritchie. Finally, I'm like, okay, I get Guy Ritchie now. I can follow the story, even though it does jump around from character to character, gives you backstory. I actually like all the characters in here, and a lot of them are terrifying. Like even Matthew McConaughey, who's like the guy you're rooting for, but you're like, wait, should I be rooting for this guy? He's doing some bad things here. I don't know, but it kind of plays with your mind a little bit. So you're like, But the toddlers are the best part of this movie. The fight sequence where it's like a music video and they put it online. I'm like, hey, we're online right now. I can connect to this stuff. This is working for me. So it feels more modern of a crime drama movie. It's very visually pleasing. I like the ending of this movie. It like kind of twists a little bit and keeps you on your toes. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I like this one. And it's also about kind of Hollywood filmmaking in a way where they tie in the Hugh Grant stuff and the reporting and all that at the end comes back full circle. So I just think it works on every level and it makes sense and you can understand all the characters, not like Snatch where it's like, what the heck? What did they say? What's going on? Let me put on the subtitles. Okay. This one, I'm like, oh no, I can follow it. I can definitely follow the story. So yes, The Gentleman out of the crime ones that definitely top for me out of the crime ones. Yep.
You know, Brad Pitt can be that same gypsy character in every movie they make, just every single movie from now on, and I'll be totally fine with it.
Yeah, they should have brought him back for this as like a joke. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
A little,
Yeah, just a
walks by and
cameo
says something.
role,
Colin
yeah.
Farrell.
Or if he would have been like one of the sparring coaches in the gym,
Oh yeah,
and
with
just
the
not
toddlers.
even have a line or nothing, just in the background, like showing the kids some moves.
Giving them free ideas here. This is what's going on.
Let's set up that multiverse.
You know what?
for
I
Guy
think
Ritchie
too.
film. Let's go.
One thing about Brad Pitt, I think Colin Farrell is more like Brad Pitt. And what I mean by that is I think Brad Pitt can be a lead, but I always loved him as a character, like a weirdo character actor or a supporting actor. I think that's his best stuff. And I feel the same way about Colin Farrell. Like, he's great. Can he lead a movie? Sure. But is that his best fit? I don't think so. And I feel the same way. I think like he's like the Irish Brad Pitt or Scottish or whatever he is. I think he's Irish.
Yeah, I think Brad Pitt's a little bit better as far as over Colin Farrell. But like
Yes.
a perfect example, he's kind of like a 1B, like an Ocean's 11 or 12 or 13. Like
Right.
it's kind of, George Clooney, but then Brad Pitt's just like literally like one step.
Or like True Romance. I love him in that
he's
movie.
great in there.
Got a little small part. Like, he just fits.
All right. Next up, Wrath of Man. And this is the top of my list. This is number one right here. I love a good revenge story. The Punisher, my favorite superhero character. So if you give me a good revenge story, you already sold me. But this is another one that plays around with time and jumps back and forth, but I can follow it still. So that's nice. Very modern movie. Jason Statham's great in here. Like, you feel his pain, you feel what he went through, and then how he sets up this whole plan just so diligently, and it's all thought out. I love to see all those pieces come together by the end, and then the ending is still very twisty. I did not see the ending coming. I'm like, okay, it's gonna end now. Wait, it's still going. Oh gosh, they just did that. So I love the dark feel of this movie. It's very just a deep, dark kind of drama there. But there's some cool action moments when they, break in for the heist part and all that stuff at the end. So when I watch this movie, it's like I have to finish it. Like, my eyes are locked on the screen. It's just that intense. Nate, you're a big fan of this one too?
Love this movie. Yeah, I love all. Okay, from here on out, I'll be honest, I love all the movies. So, I think this one is, I second everything you said. I think the action scenes hit, and I like this one, and there's another one we haven't gotten to yet. While they have a lot of action, he's way more dialed back in some of his certain style that he normally does. I love the way the story is told in this movie. It's not linear, and it's in segments, but they all paint this picture that comes together by the end. I think Statham is great in this movie. I think he's an underrated actor, to be honest, because I've seen him in movies where, like, Bank Job and things like that. He can act, but he's always cast as just like the smoldering action guy, pretty much, which I love him in that too. But I think he's really good in this. Good cast again, like Josh. It was great to see Josh Hartnett, in a big movie. And Scott Eastwood, who I don't really like either, but I thought he was pretty good in this. Yeah, I enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's really good. And I love that he shoots Post Malone right in the head. I love that. Spoiler alert, shoots him right in the head. I love that.
No.
I tell you nothing. He just shoots him. But yeah, good action, well shot, good story, good way it's told. Enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
Ryan, how you feeling?
So I was happy to see Guy Ritchie was putting out a movie. I was happy to see that Statham was the lead, because I think at that time he was kind of tied up in the Fast and the Furious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I gave it 3.5 stars. I just looked up in my letterbox. My only complaint with it was the time jumps, for some reason, seemed a little sloppy in this one. They weren't as clear to find, maybe, or it was a little choppy to me. But overall, yeah, Statham just being Statham in his movie, kicking ass. And I like the fact that it's a revenge story. It's not a straight revenge story. It is a straight revenge story, but it's not your typical, oh, okay, A happened, I'm going to go do B to achieve C. This is like, A happened, I'm going to do F, and I'm going to go over to T, and then we're going to come circle back around to B, and then maybe stop by S again, and then come back to C to get the thing done. And it was done really, really well. And Hartnett, I love the fact that he was in it too.
And on top of that, it's a revenge story where the guy getting revenge is also not a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's also bad, but you're still rooting for him anyway. It's different.
Yeah, this was definitely a really good one. I mean, I always love a good, action heist type of movie, and then throw the revenge in there. I just thought it worked out really well. I mean, Jason Statham. I don't need a lot from a Jason Statham acted movie. I just need not long flowing hair. I need a
Yes.
bald head, and then yeah, I think it was It's not so. It isn't just like him just beating the crap out of people nonstop the entire time. There is story in it, and he does a good job. But yeah, it's there's complexity to it, and it's not like absurd. Like if you ever see Law Abiding Citizen, I just thought the story of that was just so absurd the way that all that worked out. This is like the opposite of that. It was just perfectly done out. Like he's getting the revenge, but it's complex, but not over the top. I think it worked really good. I mean, I haven't seen Jason Statham act too. I mean, I don't need him to read Hamlet or anything like that. I just need him to be serviceable and then kick some ass, and I think it worked perfectly.
Probably one of my favorite parts in the movie is I think it's after the second heist he foils or something like that, and all the guys are like talking in the locker room. They're like, "Are we screwed? Are they? Who's screwed? Because this isn't right, but we don't know where we stand." And that's what I really love. That kind of throws a wrench in it too. So you're kind of left. He's like, you're right. He's also a bad guy. He's doing revenge, but he's also kind of getting his own at the same time. And it's just a neat concept.
I love the part too where like Eddie Marsan, he's like the manager there. He's in a bunch of Guy Ritchie movies too, by the way. And they're talking, and he's like, dude, you hit everybody in the head, and you barely hit the target when you went to the shooting practice. Or he's like, it's adrenaline. It's just and they just buy it. They're like, yes,
Yeah,
yeah. You're about to die. You can hit everybody with headshots.
Yeah, and then the second time it happens, they're like,
something's up.
Yeah,
something's up with this guy. Great movie.
All right, moving on to another Jason Statham movie right here, Operation Fortune. I don't know how to say the rest of it, but anyway, I really like this one. This is a super fun movie to me. This is probably Guy Ritchie's most fun movie in my opinion. Like the action comedy really works here. I think I laugh a lot during this one, and you got a great cast again. Aubrey Plaza. Oh my gosh, just whenever she's in anything to me. She is one of my favorite actresses ever since seeing her in Parks and Rec. Oh, I like her humor. That humor, she just has that look to her, and I don't know, she just makes me laugh. So she was great in this movie. We just talked about Josh Hartnett, seeing him back as a actor in this one. Oh my gosh, that was comedic gold. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's good action in this one too. Oh yeah, Hugh Grant back. Oh. This movie has everything. This movie had just everything for me, and it's not confusing. There's no time jumping and splicing and chopped around stuff. Very easy to follow, very accessible. I think most people would like this one. Very blockbustery feel to it all. So I really enjoyed it. James, what did you think of this one?
I thought it was okay. I didn't like it as much as you did. I don't know. I think for the Guy Ritchie movies, I just prefer a little bit of the older stuff. This was just a little bit too much. I don't want to say Hollywoodish, but I feel like it was almost like some of his other stuff, but just more Hollywoodized. And it just didn't. I mean, it just didn't work 100% for me. I thought it was okay. I did like Hugh Grant in this one, and it's another one. I mean, the characters all worked, like you said. He picks all these people, and it all works. It's just story wise. I just thought it wasn't. I mean, obviously, Guy Ritchie did it, but I just didn't feel like it was the stuff kind of I enjoy more from Guy Ritchie. So I just kind of thought it was okay.
All right, Nate, you bring it back to positive. I know you love this one.
I love this one. I'm probably have it higher than anyone else on their list if I'm gonna wager. On another stream last, like, I don't know if it was early this year or last year, whatever. I had this as one of my most underrated movies of 2023. I think it's a tragedy personally that no one saw it. It made like $2 million. Or I mean, so did the next movie on our list. Made no money. So did the next two actually. But this one was like, I feel like this one, it had to have been filmed before and got COVID did something to it, because it was. I remember seeing posters for this at a local theater like in 2022, and it just never came out. Never, and then they just dropped it. No advertisements, no trailers, put in the theater. It was there for like 2 weeks and then it was gone. I saw it at the theater because, again, Guy Ritchie, I was back on board after the Wrath of Man and Gentleman, and me and my buddy absolutely loved it. Hugh Grant playing just like an alternate version of the guy from The Gentleman, pretty much. owns again. Josh Hartnett, him and Josh Hartnett, hilarious in this movie. Like their whole dynamic. And at the end, when they're doing the movie, like making the movie and he's playing him and that whole thing, amazing. I actually really like Aubrey Plaza in this because she's still funny, but way dialed back. She's not as sarcastic as she normally is. Statham, I love Statham. And I think this is well shot, has good action. I'm an action movie, fan. I do a podcast about it. So it is right in my wheelhouse. Spycraft, action, Carrie Elwes. I love this movie. I think it's super, super, super underrated.
Ryan, how do you like this one?
It has a horrible title, by the way.
Yeah, it's a horrible title. I really like this movie. Yes, it's not your typical Guy Ritchie movie, but you can tell it's his style and his writing with the wordplay and all that. I love Aubrey Plaza in this. I love Hugh Grant. Statham is kind of really, honestly, a throwaway in this. It's more of a Hartnett, Aubrey Plaza, Hugh Grant movie to me. My little gem in this movie is Bugsy Malone, the black kid that's in there. He is also the boxer from The Gentleman.
Oh,
yes, this is his second movie he's in, and he's a British rapper, but he's got very good comedic timing, and him and Aubrey Plaza play off each other very, very well. I was like, "Where's my other hand at? It's down here." I was doing this. I'm like, "Why is my other hand showing up?" Anyway, I really do enjoy it, and Hartnett a little dinky, but he pulled it off really, like it was very well done. And I love that Aubrey Plaza was like, I'm not cut out for this, but you know what? I want to give it 100% and it works out. I really enjoyed it.
You know what, too? I forgot the part Bugsy with him and Jason Statham when he gives him the wine on the airplane. Yeah. His reaction to it, it's just like, even that little throwaway scene is like really funny. I liked him in this. He's good.
Yeah, I love his. We going back to Gentleman when he gets called a black cut, and sorry, but Colin Farrell like has to explain to him how it's not racist. He's like, and it's just he's got a very good sense of language and just comedic timing, and he's just funny, and everything that I felt that came out of his mouth in this movie was just funny.
Mm-hmm. Nay, I love how you mentioned the title here because I'm like, what were they thinking? How did they greenlight this title?
It's horrible.
Even say the title. Like, what is this?
Ruse de Guerre never get. There's something about a ruse is that a one line, but I don't know. Like Fortune's his last name. Okay, they could just call it Operation Fortune. That would have been fine. That's the character's last name. But I hate the title of this. It's stupid.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody even say the whole title, like ever. No. I don't think anybody knows how to say this one.
Oh, okay. So it's literally translated as ruse of war is a non-uniform term, generally what understood as ruse. So basically it's your operation and it's under the ruse of a war. So you're kind of pitting everybody against everybody so you can slide in underneath it and do your operation.
Okay.
I think so it makes sense, but just not in a Frenchy.
Stupid. It makes sense, but it's a dumb
not
name.
marketable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the rule of Hollywood movies is if you have to look up the title to see what it means, bad title.
Yes.
Yeah. If you walk past this and you're like, Operation Fortune, Ruse, that sounds like a foreign film. I'm skipping it. I don't want to watch
it. At first, when I saw the title, I'm like, is this like a French film? Like, is there going to be subtitles? What's going on here? And
yeah, I bought this on 4K. Day one, loved it. I love this movie. I'll champion it till I die.
All right. Well, next up, a movie I will definitely champion is Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. Oh man, and this came out the same exact year as Operation Fortune, the year of Guy Ritchie, for two movies that are both great, but nobody saw. So that was really sad. But I love The Covenant. This is way outside Guy Ritchie's wheelhouse. You wouldn't expect him to do this kind of movie, a military operation movie. But I think Jake Gyllenhaal, who I'm not always the biggest fan of, I think he works in this movie. There's just something about him being a military character that I thought definitely, worked well, especially being paired with, how do you say his name? Adar Salim? Is that it? Yeah. The other actor? Oh, yeah. He is Dar so Salim, good. Oh, he was fantastic in this movie. I felt like he should have gotten an award nomination or something for his supporting role. But I like how they worked together. I liked how it was, based on events and wars and whatnot, and just seeing them go into that area, and then he has to get Jake Gyllenhaal characters out of there, and that's so tense. He's all hiding him, and you're like, every second you're like, are they gonna get discovered now? What's gonna happen? And then he gets him home, but then he has to go back because his friend wasn't able to come along because of like visas and all that, and so they're going back and forth. But then the action scene at the end was really intense. That was great. So I like this movie overall. I like seeing Guy Ritchie do something different with going with a military operation movie. How'd you guys like this one? Ryan, you like?
I really enjoyed it. I like Gyllenhaal. He's probably one of my top 3 favorite working actors at the moment. He really kind of channeled his prisoner / Nightcrawler character toward, at the flip of the movie. I did not expect a war movie from Guy Ritchie. He did it really well. Salim was awesome in it. My only issue with this movie, and it's just a nitpick, and I know it was a money-saving measure, they CGI'd all the blood instead of using practical effects. I'm sure practical effects is probably more expensive nowadays than just CGI and some blood. But it really shows what was going on the forefront of that war and all that. And by the end of the movie, I didn't realize that it was actually loosely based on an actual true story, because I think they show some stuff at the end of it. And I was like, oh crap. So it really kind of brought stuff a little bit more home as well.
Nate, how do you like this?
All right. So of the 2023 movies, I love them both. I will give this one the slight edge. I think I agree with what you both said. Not only does this manage to, like, the action in the last act is fantastic. Like the whole thing with the bridge and when they're escaping, like it is like action filmmaking, fantastic. The helicopter or the plane coming in and shooting and the explosions, love it. But the acting and I agree. I think he should have gotten like supporting actor nom or something. Honestly, like to me, he's that good in this movie. I thought Gyllenhaal was also very good. And I just love the story of, like, they formed this bond. They formed this bond even though Jake Gyllenhaal was asleep for most of that bond being formed. But knowing what he did, and I love the whole thing of, like, he's like, I got a hook in me. Like, I cannot not go get him. I loved it. I thought the story was great. I thought the acting was great. The action is great. I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. This one I'm even more upset that it didn't make any money than Operation Fortune, because this seemed like a kind of these movies usually do well, but 2023 was not a good year for Guy Ritchie. So,
man, I like how you mentioned though the hook in him, right? The pain, how you just felt that. Yeah, this is probably the most tear jerky out of Guy Ritchie's films. Like, if you're gonna get choked up in a movie, like, this is probably the one, The Covenant, that's gonna get you, just because of that friendship bond. Oh my gosh, so powerful. James, how'd you like this one?
It was the only Guy Ritchie movie that I would get upset about, as far as, I can't think of any other scenes in any of the other ones. But yeah, this kind of, like with the other one, it just fell in that just after COVID kind of pit where movies kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And then all of a sudden, bam, here it is, just to get it off there, whatever. But yeah, I thought it was a good movie. It seems like every war since at least World War II has had a version of a, interpreter, code talker, something kind of relationship with a soldier. And I thought this one did really well. Jake Gyllenhaal, this isn't his first, I guess, Afghanistan, Iraq war movie. And I thought he did a pretty good job. But yeah, definitely the interpreter did a really good job. I definitely think he was great. And I like these kind of movies because it's one of those you don't know at the end, like, these are main characters, and normally in a movie it all ends well and everything is great for main characters, but you really don't know what's going to happen, and just that and the action. I just thought this one was just a really good movie. I'm a little. I mean, there's been so many Iraq, Afghanistan type of movies that it's like, we're getting to the point where there's almost too many of them. There's just so many they've put out, but I thought this, of all of those, was probably a really good one.
And I think too, Guy Ritchie pulled out another trick that he hadn't really done, and that this movie has a lot of suspense. And I think he really, like, I'd seen it already, and watching it again, I was like, tense, like a lot of suspense. I think he executed, like, the direction is really good in this movie, I think.
Yeah,
besides the CGI blood.
it's definitely out of his wheelhouse. It's not
Yes.
traditional, almost like an Aladdin type of thing. It's just him just making a good movie, being a good director, but not his traditional.
Has no flair. It's like a more standard production than he's used to. But he did great.
Yeah, and you think this one would have made some money at the box office, but I think it just released at a weird time. Like if they marketed this for like Memorial Day weekend, a 4th of July, something, I felt people could have got behind this one because it is so accessible. But
Also has a dumb title though, because it's Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. It's not
yeah, I
just The
wonder
Covenant.
why they did that. I'm guessing there's another The Covenant movie then.
Yeah, that
probably,
vampire movie from 2006 by
there
Rennie
you go.
Harlan.
Yeah.
But who cares about that
show
movie?
up too and be like, where are all the vampires at? What's wrong?
The 2006 one, was that the Heath Ledger movie?
No, that was the
That
no,
was
this
Covenant, wasn't it?
yeah, no, this The Covenant. Rennie Harlan directed it. It has that kid in it from Sebastian Stan is in it.
Oh, okay.
Before he was famous, and they're like young kids with powers. And it's all blue. It was like when Underworld was popular. This could have replaced it. Take the Guy Ritchie off, and nobody remembers that movie anyway.
Yeah, he could have picked a completely. I mean, like The Brotherhood, or I guess The Brotherhood may be a bad name, but it could have picked anything else.
Yeah. Two
Guy
titles
Ritchie's
in a
Band of
row
Brothers.
right here. Just the two titles.
Operation Fortune.
Three titles in a row. Let's
Work
be
right
honest.
here.
We got another one coming up that is
We got
a
this one
mouthful.
right here.
Yeah.
The Ministry of
You see at least
Warfare.
ideas.
All right, James, what'd you think of this one?
I thought this one was pretty good. This is the one I saw the most recent. It's kind of in the same vein. Well, not as the one we just did, but the previous two. Like I said, it's just a more modern. It's I don't know. I felt like I really wanted to like this one, but I just didn't as much as I thought. It's one of those ones you watch the trailer, it seems like okay, this could be pretty interesting, but it just didn't hit for me 100%. I thought it was an okay movie. But just overall, it's another one that it's it's a little bit more Guy Ritchie, but kind of not. It's almost like for me like a 50-50 of his kind of movies, and then a little bit different. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if I was just in a mood or what. But
Man. See, I enjoyed this one. I felt kind of it was in the realm of The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Operation Fortune. Had action comedy to it. I actually laughed quite a bit in this movie. I thought the cast was great. Henry Cavill, again, you can't go wrong. But Alan Richardson, oh my gosh, he stole the show. He was fantastic in this. I wanted more of him. Like, he was great. I like the production design here. I like the wartimey feel to it. I like it being another kind of a military operation movie with their mission they have to do. So I was entertained by this one. Cool action, cool explosions. Wasn't really bored with this one at all. Nate, how'd you feel on this?
Yeah. This one should have been called Guy Ritchie's Inglorious Bastards.
There you go. Exactly. Great
from other
comparison
movies.
right there. Yep.
And I think this one's based on like a true story too. I mean, I'm sure
I
they
think so. Yeah.
but it's based in some sort of truth. I don't know. I don't like recency bias in general. Usually I like directors like older films but I love this movie too. I thought this was great. Another one that's not going to make really any noise at the box office. Maybe it'll get a following after. I don't know. I think Henry Cavill, fun in this. And again, he uses a lot of same actors that he used before. The black guy who has the weird voice in this movie, he was in one of these other ones that when I was watching through, I was like, hey, that guy was just in the. It might have been. He wasn't Snatch. It was one of Rock and Roller. I think he was in Rock and Roller or something. I love Isaac Gonzalez in this. Beautiful. Alan Richardson, hilarious. But I want a spin-off of just his character going around killing people and shooting people with the bow and arrow. Henry Golding is in there. Like I thought this movie and what's the other? Ray Fiennes' son is the other guy. Tons of fun, great action, bloody. It's a Guy Ritchie movie through and through. At this point, like outside of the British gangster stuff, like this is kind of what I expect, and I love this one as well.
And then Ryan, I know you didn't see this one, so
I have not seen it. I've got the Steelbook ordered though. I've got the Steelbook pre-ordered.
There you go. We're gonna get the individual rankings here just real quick. Gonna shout out a member. We got Tiana Loves Movies in the chat saying hello to us all.
Tiana.
Hello, Tiana. I always got to shout out the members and their comments. So if you always want your comments read live, people, consider those memberships. That is part of the perks there. But let's go ahead and look now at our individual rankings. And when I saw these rankings, I'm like, okay, these are all different. I love this right here. So now we get to really see where everybody's true feelings lie. Swept Away is going to be number one on everybody's list. Just joking. Okay.
No.
Ryan, you want to start off with your ranking? Just go from the bottom to the top.
All right. So I've only got 14 because I don't have Ministry in there. So number 14, Swept Away. It's at the bottom of the barrel. King Arthur, Aladdin, Sherlock Holmes 2, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Sherlock Holmes, Operation Fortune, Wrath of Man, The Covenant, Rock and Rolla, Revolver, The Gentleman, Lock, Stock, and Snatch.
Ooh.
All right,
the gangster movies grouped up. Yeah, mine's totally different. You're right, Mike. Mine is totally different, except one thing. Swept Away, definitely number 15. Absolutely I wanted to put it at 16, even though he only had 15 movies. I actually have Revolver at 14. Then King Arthur at 13. Lock, Stock at 12, which hurt. I thought that was going to be higher, but when I watched it, I was like, I don't know about this. Sherlock Holmes 2 at 11. Aladdin at 10. Snatch at 9. Sherlock Holmes 1 at 8. Man from U.N.C.L.E. at 7. Then 6 is Wrath of Man. 5 is Rock and Rolla. 4, Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. 3, Operation Fortune. 2, The Covenant. And 1, The Gentleman.
All right, James.
All right, I got last like everyone else. Swept Away at number 15. Then I've got 14. I've got Revolver. 13, Aladdin. 12, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. 11, King Arthur. 10, I've got Operation Fortune. I refuse to say the rest. Number 9, I've got Rock and Rolla. Number 8, The Covenants. 7 is The Man from U.N.C.L.E. 6 is Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows, or Sherlock Holmes 2. 5, Wrath of Man. 4, The Gentleman. 3, Lock, Stock, and 2 Smoking Barrels. Number 2, Snatch. And number 1, the original Sherlock Holmes.
And these the group ranking is just gonna be all tied for 15th.
It's gonna be wild. But before I get to my individual ranking, now that Nate, you reminded me, what are your guys' predictions for top 3? Top 3 places here. What are you thinking, Ryan?
I've changed it several times during this thing because we are completely all over the place. But my final list, I had Wrath of Man, The Gentleman, and Snatch. So 3, 2, 1, and that's already blown out of the water.
All right, Nate, what are you thinking now?
All right, just from what Dave said, I think The Gentleman's going to be in the top. I don't know where to put it. I think The Gentleman. I think Wrath of Man. Wow, you didn't like Snatch, and everybody else likes that. I honestly don't know what's going to be number 3. I'll go with. I'm going to say Gentleman, Wrath of Man, and Rock and Rolla. I don't know why. I feel like nobody put that crazy low.
All right, James, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna go Snatch number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna say The Gentleman, and number 3, I'm gonna go with Sherlock Holmes on number 3. I think people are gonna surprise this year.
Yeah, it's not a bad guess.
Now I'm gonna come in and ruin everything with my ranking list. All right, the bottom 3 films here could disappear forever, and I'd be perfectly okay. At the bottom, we got Lock, Stock, and 2, of course. Next up, Snatch. Yeah, don't need that one. And then Rock and Rolla, don't need it either. I know that was gonna hurt Ryan over there for sure. Sorry about that one.
And Rock and Rolla.
Great.
I wasn't feeling like a Rock and Rolla.
Never mind. Rock and Rolla ain't being number 3. Never mind.
I feel like Guy Ritchie just felt a sharp pain in his chest while you said that.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, these ones I will say are good, solid. You know, I could rewatch these. Revolver, Swept Away. I was way higher on Swept Away, and then Aladdin. Yeah. All right. Next ones, let's see. I would say are great. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, The Gentleman, Sherlock Holmes 2, Sherlock Holmes 1, The Covenant, Man from U.N.C.L.E., and then, I mean, the top 3 are masterpieces. Everybody should see these. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. Everybody see that one. So good. Operation Fortune, and then Wrath of Man for number 1.
I thought I would never live to see the day to hear King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, and Masterpiece in the same.
Oh my gosh!
I don't even think the real King Arthur would watch King Arthur.
Oh man,
this is totally not my life.
I keep thinking about the scenes of the movie, like where they like invade the little house and they're all defending and everything. I'm like, oh, this is great. I saw something else apparently.
Watch the director's
cut. You sound like you know what you're talking about, Mike, but you did watch the Guy Ritchie King Arthur, right?
It was. I'm telling you, this was.
Okay.
No, yeah, because he said that video game part was cool.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm telling you, I was blown. I'm like, I love this. Is my type of movie. Like it just had everything I loved, like the montage in there. I'm like, man, this is pumping me. Like it just
said it was the Rocky of King Arthur.
I'm telling you, that montage was great. And he's all like punchy. He's like
montage.
Oh, that was fantastic. I love montages. That's why Rocky 4 is my favorite out of the Rocky movies. I love the montages, the music video stuff. You know, all right,
makes sense.
All right. Well, anyway, let's get to the group ranking.
Oh my God.
Well, the bottom was obvious. You guys called it. 15th place, swept away, got 9 points, and most of those were from me. All right. Next up, 14th place, Aladdin. No Disney magic here, unfortunately. 19 points, but 10 more points than swept away. So it was a big
gap.
From swept
I'm surprised
away
you ruined it by putting King Arthur so high because this is not worse than King Arthur.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're gonna be laughing to see where King Arthur ends up. This is gonna be great because you would think, I mean, you guys would think King Arthur would be next, right? Yeah. It is not. 13th place, Revolver, 20 points. Actually, very close to Aladdin's score. With that. So, yeah. All right, next. Actually, we got a tie next. 12th and 11th place are a tie. So, unfortunately, yes, King Arthur did come up next. I wanted it to get higher, you know, but I did what I could.
23 of those points came from Mike. Figure that math out.
Yeah, 13 points right there for me. So, yeah, that was a lot.
We combined for 11 and you were 13. Okay. Makes sense.
Yep, I gave it a lot of points, but it did tie with the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. But that's
fair because it's the newest
one. Ryan didn't see the movie.
Yeah, I didn't vote on it because I haven't seen it yet. So
it got 24 points from just 3 of us. So it might have would have finished higher probably.
Yep.
And I have a feeling I'm going to like it. Just from the trailer, it looks like something I'm going to enjoy. So
yeah.
All right. Any thoughts now on 10th place? Any guesses?
Sherlock Holmes 2.
Oh, Sherlock Holmes 2.
Ryan is right. Sherlock Holmes 2 at 29 points. 10th place. Hey, that's still pretty good. All right. Next up. Ooh, we actually got another tie for 9th and 8th place.
I think Snatch is going to be here. I don't know why, because I didn't rank it super high and you ranked it very low. They ranked it pretty high though. So maybe
yeah, it's number 2 on mine.
Maybe Lock Stock then. Lock Stock.
Oh, an operation.
There you go. Lock Stock, and then also Rock and Rolla. Both with 32 points. So the crime dramas in there. Sorry, I brought all the crime dramas down. Those just my scores just tanked them.
The most Guy Ritchie movies, all at the bottom. Yeah, thanks to Mike.
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, 7th place. Anybody got a guess for 7th place?
Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yep. Ryan, you are on this. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. 36 points right there. Yeah. All right. 6th place. Any thoughts on 6th place here?
It's got to be Operation.
Oh, yeah probably. Because it hasn't appeared yet.
Unfortunately, Ryan's favorite.
Snatch. Oh, Snatch.
Wow.
With 38 points, did not even crack the top 5, even though everybody says it's Guy Ritchie's definitive movie. That was all.
Do you want to hear a quick embarrassing story?
Yes.
So you find out this movie's coming out on Steelbook, and you walk into Best Buy, and you go back to the electronics department, and there's a tag for it. There's no Steelbooks on the display. So you go around, you find the lovely little 19-year-old electronics girl, and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a movie." And when she asks you what movie, you go, "Snatch." You get a weird look.
Yeah,
Just saying.
that's true.
Then you have to
help
explain to them that it's a
Behind the
grab.
shirt in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in the back. But yeah, you got to explain to her that snatch is British slang for grab, not.
No, what you got to do is you walk her over and just point at the little thing. This one. You have this one? Don't even say it.
I could just imagine the expression. Like, what?
No, she had no clue. She
Excuse
was
me?
like, she looked at me weird. She goes, "And that's a movie?" I said, "Yeah," and I did. I had to go show her the thing so she could scan the barcode to see if they
Like,
had
this
any
is
in the
a
back.
movie,
But
I promise you.
Yeah,
it was
real.
very embarrassing.
But did you get the movie? That's the most
I
important.
did. I
There
did.
we go. You gotta do what you gotta do.
That is the
Probably.
steelbook I bought that day.
She probably watched that same movie later that night.
She probably did. She probably thought it was about cats or something. I don't know.
All right, top 5 here. 5th place. What are we thinking?
Maybe this is going to be Operation.
Why does everybody think Operation Fortune?
I don't know, because
like,
only me and you ranked it really high,
Yeah.
and it hasn't appeared yet.
I'm going to say Wrath because I have Wrath at number 5. So
well, none of you are Sherlocks out there. 'Cause it's
Oh,
Sherlock.
Sherlock.
I thought that would be higher.
40
Wow.
points for Sherlock, but that's a lot of points right there. That's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very close. A lot of these are very close. All right, 4th place now. Finally, you
All right,
guys
so
got
now,
it right.
yeah, Operation Fortune.
There we go. Finally, Operation Fortune. 41 points. Only beat Sherlock by
Hey,
1
I
point.
like that. To get it up to the
I love
top.
Operation Fortune. I'm happy that one made.
I had it 3rd overall on mine, so that's pretty good.
the bad title didn't matter after all.
It didn't matter.
And then a 3rd place, man, I'm kind of shocked by this one.
Covenant?
Yeah, everybody loved this apparently. Like, you tell me, hey, what's going to be Guy Ritchie's top 3 movies? I would not initially say The Covenant.
It's because people didn't see it. Once they watch
There
it,
you go.
they'll be like, dang, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, for a war movie, it's not very pro-war, anti-war. I guess it's a little bit more anti-war, but it's not hoorah, America, in your face stuff. It's really, you could take the war out of it and it could be honestly any kind of thriller brother movie.
Yeah.
All right. And then 2nd place. Well, I'll give you guys one last chance here. What do you think 2nd place is?
You
now?
know
We're
what?
down to
I think it
title.
might be The Gentleman because you didn't have it as high. I think Wrath of Man might be number 1.
Well, Nate.
I like that thinking.
Well, you guys are both wrong.
It's the
place,
other way around. The other way around.
Wrath of Man, 45 points. Woo, right there. But I love to see that Wrath of Man, top 2. I'm happy with that. I'm just happy it's there. It's so good.
And the most Guy Ritchie movie ended up making it.
1st place,
top spot.
A good little margin right there. 48 points for The Gentleman. It seemed like that one everybody liked in this panel. Like, everybody was like, The Gentleman's really good. It wasn't any of our other favorite. Nate, it was yours.
It was mine. Yeah,
Your
I had
number
1
and
and
everybody
15 in
else,
the exact right spot.
No.
Like, that was it.
You got 1 of 15. There you go.
That's right.
But
I
there
love
we
this
go.
movie.
Any shocks and surprises for you guys?
No, I'm kind of glad it worked out that way. Even if it's not like their favorite movie or like everybody, you know what I mean? I do like when we were talking about it, I just feel like it is the quintessential. Like, if you're like, what kind of movies does Guy Ritchie excel at? That's probably the one I would show somebody who's never seen any of his movies. Like, if you don't like this, I don't think you will like Guy Ritchie in general. So I'm kind of glad it like ended up at number 1.
It's easier to follow. You don't have all the British slang, Cockney slang, and all that other stuff in there, so it's audibly easier to follow. And it's very Ritchie formulaic, and it's agreed the best.
Yeah, I like this list overall, and looking back at it, I'm like very happy with this list. Yeah, very good, very solid. All right, our last question here. Thoughts on what Guy Ritchie should do next? I know, Ryan, you were sharing some thoughts with me backstage on this. What do you think? What should Guy Ritchie tackle next?
I would like to see him do a horror movie, and I kind of thought about this. I'd like to see maybe some sort of period piece, or maybe even I would think like a Dracula, but Dracula's been done so much. But
Yeah.
like some sort of maybe classic monsters take or something like that, and be like super like R-rated, gory, and creepy. I think he could do the stylistic on it and have it still dark.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That'd definitely be outside his wheelhouse, something different.
Yeah, you can always hit those like less known universal monsters, Mummy,
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
All
That's what I was
right,
trying to
Nate.
think of, because the werewolves had a couple movies, Dracula's had a few movies. I know
Invisible Man hasn't had too many. You could do Invisible Man.
Dr.
Yeah.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, something like that.
Oh, that would be
Ooh,
great.
that would be really
That'd
good.
be really cool.
Jude Law and Sherlock Holmes starring Robert Downey
so
Jr.
I just looked up really quick to see what his next movie is. Obviously, I already like it. I don't even know what it says. It's called In the Gray. It says it revolves around two extraction specialists who have to designate a route of escape for a senior female negotiator. It has Jake Gyllenhaal, Henry Cavill, Rosamund Pike. I'm like, I already want to watch this. I don't even know what it is, but I'm in. But if I had to pick something, I would like to see him visit old London again. If I was going to go, I think horror would go, because I do think, like I said, some of the suspense in The Covenant is like borderline scary. So I would like to see him do like a Jack the Ripper movie, because that's old. It's England. I feel like it's got a lot of cobblestones in it. And I think he would get some cool cast. I know, what was the last one? In Hell, which is an average movie. Like, it's not a great Jack the Ripper story. I would like to see him do that if he was going to go like in the darker route. Otherwise, just give me something else with Statham and I'll be happy with it.
All right, James, what do you
I
think?
was thinking, yeah, Jack the Ripper. That would be a really good one, or even like just like a Hound of the Baskervilles. Like, I don't think anybody's done that in like forever. Just something, older period stuff, but still British, and then throw Vinnie Jones in there, and then I'll be happy.
All right.
Midnight
Also,
Meat trended up.
Also, by the way, he has a mystery movie called Fountain of Youth that he's directing next. That has John Krasinski, Natalie Portman, Domhnall Gleeson. I mean, this guy gets like all these actors I like all the time. He shoots these movies super fast. He's like the Ridley Scott. Well, I was gonna say the Ridley Scott of England. Ridley Scott is British. He's like the Ridley Scott's son. From he just gets these movies out. He pumps them out.
So Fountain of Youth, that could be like a murder mystery thing. Somebody's killing people and taking their blood to try to stay young.
It says mystery. Okay, two estranged siblings join forces to seek the legendary Fountain of Youth. Using historical clues, they embark on it's an adventure film.
There you go, Last Crusade right there.
An adventure film. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where I want him to go. Yeah, I want. I would take a King Arthur too, but I know not everybody else wants that one. But I would like fantasy adventure. So if he did a God of War movie, because he has that video game style right there, ooh, I would love that. I'm a big God of War fan, and it deserves a great movie treatment. So I would like to see that.
This next movie was also written by James Vanderbilt, who's pretty cool. He wrote Zodiac for Fincher. And I know Guy Ritchie's going to also probably he writes as well. I think he's underrated. I still think Guy Ritchie's an underrated director because we had talked about like his movies don't make a ton of money. A few of them have, but they don't make a ton of money. He writes, he directs, and I don't think he gets put into the same category as certain other directors that I think he is as good as. But his movies don't seem to generate the money.
He has so many movies. Like after 15 movies, modern director busting out a movie like every year, you'd think more people would know his name, but the common person does not know Guy Ritchie. He's not like a Christopher Nolan, not even a Ridley Scott. Like people know those names. They don't know Guy Ritchie.
I think his only slight downfall is not only does he write and he directs, but I think he also oversees almost every part of his movie, and sometimes directors get like that is not always good. So he may, just
be a little too controlling on it.
Yeah.
So plus, not everything he makes is a huge Hollywood like extravaganza like a Christopher Nolan or them, where they're making these $200 million movies or whatnot. So I think, he still makes. He's obviously an extremely popular director. He's made a ton of good stuff, but I don't think he's not like on that like award winning. He's going to be at the Oscars all the time. He's more of. I think people just see him as not an indie director, but
he's a popcorn movie director.
Yeah.
You know, he's not prestigious. I wouldn't think of like a prestige film and Guy Ritchie. I agree with you. Like, I think he's more on that level of we're going to eat some snacks, probably laugh, have a good time at the theater if we go see it. And that's it.
If they can market it, if they get a good title.
Yeah, the marketing people are horrible. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. He needs to keep the budgets low for sure, though. Yeah, I mean, like,
but I think he's
50 million and under.
He does.
Even that's a lot.
Not to have a pun here, but I think he makes a lot of movies that are for guys. Like it's a guy movie. Most of his
that's fair. I agree with that. That is fair.
For dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, he has Statham in like half of his movies, so I mean that's a point right there. Like Nate said, I would watch anything with Statham in it, like anything.
And then he's catering now that Natalie Portman movie also has Isaac Gonzalez in it. So it's like, we're putting out all the beautiful women and some manly guy that everyone likes, Henry Cavill, Jake Gyllenhaal. So give him one of those. I need Statham in one of these movies ASAP.
I was just looking back. Wrath of Man is the only Ritchie movie that Statham was in where he actually gets to do like stuff.
Yeah.
Like Revolver, he talks. Snatch, he talks. Lock, Stock, two Smoking Barrels, it's a small part, he talks. Operation Fortune, he talks. Like, Wrath of Man is the only one where Statham gets to Statham.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Mike, you got to do a Jason Statham. You got to. He has too many movies. But you
I know we'd have
way.
to break it up. It would have to be like a 3-night special.
Let me know. Do a 3-parter. I've seen them all. I'll show up.
There we go. Yeah. All right. So we covered Guy Ritchie. I think we celebrated his filmography, went through all his films, ranked them. So there we go, audience. I'll give everybody a chance to kind of also say if they got any upcoming projects, but just some reminders out there. Remember, if you have not taken a revolver to that like and subscribe, make sure you do that before you get out of the stream, of course. Definitely helps support the channel and all that fun stuff. But thank you, audience, for being here. Thanks for being in the chat and the comments. I know we didn't dive into them tonight, but there were just so many films to get through. This would have been like a 3-4 hour stream if we were going back and forth between comments. But thank you. We did notice you out there. But yeah, let's go around and Ryan Rolla, what do you got upcoming? And where can people find you?
I didn't die in a tornado tonight. I'm in southern Indiana. We had severe weather roll through here. So I had power off earlier, but I made it. I had a video come out today. Every Wednesday I have a video come out. I've still got my Steelbook Mondays, video announcement on Wednesdays on Instagram, Fresh Friday Driving Jams, and Sunday Spin on there. Next week, I'm going to try to do my top 25 movies of all time. It's something that's been swimming around for a while. I've been messing around with the list for the last few months. And then after that, probably some more unboxings. A bunch of lovely steelbooks have came out here in this last month, and I got to show them off. So that's going to be it.
Nice.
I wonder if Snatch will be on your top 25.
It honestly, that or The Gentleman, one of the two might be in my top 25.
I saw
my
Devil.
top 25s.
I see that poster.
I saw The Devil is definitely in there, and probably Old Boy. But if I saw The Devil, Old Boy maybe bumped out. It's going to be hard.
Ooh.
It's going to be a rough 25.
That's awesome.
All right, Wrath of Nate, what do you got going on?
Oh Lord, we busy. Me and Alex very busy over on Geeks and Flicks. I'll give the quick rundown. Alex is doing a DC Retro Rewind every Wednesday, except for today because he's busy. But he is putting out, he's going through all the live action DC films and doing reviews for every single one. The next thing will be Swamp Thing. He's up to Swamp Thing currently. Every Thursday, I go to the movie theater, and every Friday, my out of the theater reviews go up. This week will be Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, of course. And all my past ones are over on Geeks and Flicks. You could check those out as well. And then we have, of course, the Action Movie Guys podcast. We have a YouTube now. So if you want to listen to it on YouTube, it's not it's just audio, but it's on there. And wherever else, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that crap. So action movie guys there. And then this Sunday we'll be live with the guys from Faces for Radio, Dave and Rich. They're going to come on our show on Sunday. We're going to be giving our top 5 each favorite watchable crap movies. So this is going to be the junk we like, but we know it's junk and we like it. So that's what we're going to do.
Is King Arthur going to be on there?
Absolutely not. Maybe swept away. No, there's junk we like, not junk we hate.
Oh, man. Rough.
But if you were on, you could definitely pick it. And it would be, everyone would be like, yes, I see where he's going.
But it's not junk. It's a masterpiece. I couldn't do it in good conscience. All right.
Fair.
Lock, stock, and straight to Blu-ray.
So basically, I don't have a ton coming out recently. I'm always doing my 4K reviews, average person 4K reviews. I got my Mean Girls one that's going to be coming out soon. Just picked up The Crow, so going to be reviewing that one. Always doing my coming soon. So if you want to know what, you don't go online, you want to know what's coming soon to 4K and Blu-ray, I always do those every week. And then I've got best of, I think it's 1992, my top 10 of 92, I think I'm on. I started at 85, I think I'm up to 92. So that should be coming out soon as well. So
awesome. And everybody's links are in the description below, audience. So definitely show them some love, visit their channel, and most importantly, watch their amazing content. Don't just click subscribe, and then watch the content. Trust me, it's all great stuff. Everybody gives a different personality and flavor to movies. So like you saw tonight with our Guy Ritchie rankings, you're getting something different from everybody, and it's fantastic. For my channel, you guys know me, a couple videos I guess I'll highlight. The one I dropped today was what I watched in April. So I went through all the 4Ks, Blu-rays, DVDs I watched, theatrical releases, streaming, every movie I saw for that month of April. You want to know my thoughts on it, check out that video. So yeah, that was really, really fun. So yeah, have a good time with that one. And then next stream coming up that I'm going to be on will be a Collectors Club stream on Saturday night. And we're going over war movie recommendations. I know, what a thumbnail Derek put together right there. It's going to be on Derek's channel, so definitely stop by his channel. That's going to be super fun. So yeah, definitely check that out. But yeah, there we go.
We're talking about The Covenant.
I've been trying. I was trying to recommend The Covenant. Like I've been trying to talk about, but the Collectors Club be shooting me down on The Covenant. Nobody wants to see The Covenant.
This is absurd.
I'm trying. I'm pushing it. I'm pushing The Covenant. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll recommend The Covenant as a good like war movie. And they're like, wait, but it's not actual factual events and stuff. I'm like, wait, but it was based on true events.
On real life.
Like, yeah, I don't know. They were like, not real enough. And I'm like, I don't know. I give up. I tried.
It's real, but it's not real enough.
I know. Okay. I pushed for The Covenant. I pushed for it. Nobody was having The Covenant. I don't know why. It's great. I love The Covenant.
That's okay.
But there we go. Yes. And then yeah, that's it from us, audience. Just a little shout out here to my members, and yeah, we'll call it a night. So have a great night, everyone. And thank you so much, my mega membership supporters. If you love talking and collecting movies, consider joining the Mega League of Film Fans through memberships to support content creation while gaining access to perks like shoutouts, exclusive videos, and future topic choices.